Don't touch the mic.
Get away from me, then.
You're meant to speak. You're meant to be speaking truth to power. Are you here just to take your marching orders? Is that what you're here for?
Do you want to go away?
Not really. I'm here to do what you should be doing.
Yeah? Please take this out of my mouth. I'm going to have you escorted off to security.
All right. Do that.
Prime Minister, are you worried to take questions because you saw what happened to Jacinta Allen? Are you scared of answering the tough questions? Yesterday was the first time you didn't conflate anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. Is that because you recognise that a lot of the hate is from the Muslim community?
Who come and approach? Who come and approach? I'm gonna fucking get you.
You're gonna what?
I'm gonna fucking get you.
What are you gonna do?
Leave.
What are you gonna do?
Leave.
What are you gonna do?
Leave.
What are you gonna
Leave.
do?
Hey, don't touch it. You came my way. You fuck off. You understand? You came my way.
Stay out of the camera.
What now? I show you? You want me to show you?
Right, one of the main interests in the debate, the Israeli police always make sure that only Muslims go. Jews and Christians are allowed to go through here. They're limited where infidels...
No Jews beyond these steps, pretty much.
No.
The only way Jews are allowed on nowadays, it's fairly new.
One place. You were arrested once upon a time because the police would say you're upsetting the Muslims and they'd get too angry, then there'd be violence, there'd be war.
I don't know, but this guy's going to get punched out.
I just got threatened by the head of news and programming of CNBC. Are you serious?
That's him there.
Why do you think you deserve so much power? Hey, Avi and Rukshan, should I be scared now? Don't push me, bro. What? What are you getting violent for, man? I could push just like you can, man. Look at these thugs. They fund wars around the world and then you question them. They try not only to intimidate you, but physically assault you.
And these are the activists that lost control of the situation today. This is Antifa, the socialists, the Marxists.
Pro-Palestinian supporters are coming to the Jewish community and instigating what can only be termed as a violent demonstration.
But you're at a synagogue. Why did you come to a synagogue if it's not about Jews?
By Palestine, war criminals in there.
How would you feel if Jews went to a mosque?
Shame on you. Shame on you for conflating the two.
Are you talking about anti-Semitism when you're not Jewish?
Because I've been impacted by anti-Semitism.
Are you a Jew?
No, people think I am, and I've been called a fucking Jew and had someone threatened to kick my ass because they thought I was Jewish, so it's impacted me as well. We are not anti-Semitic.
Are you listening to yourself?
Yes.
Jacinta, we understand it's easier to run away, but what would you say to the Jewish community for them to believe that you could keep them safe since you failed them for a year and a half? Look at what are you doing? Why are you blocking my way, mate? Jacinta, why are you running away from the tough question? Why are you running away? Like a coward. No Jew can believe you're going to keep them safe. You came for a photo op. Does it look like how you expected it to look? Is it bigger, smaller?
It's smaller.
Yeah.
Man, I don't need that.
You're not going to wear it?
No.
Wow. How are you going to do your photo at the wall? You have to wear one at the wall.
You have to?
Yeah.
All right.
You're going to look weird. People are going to look at you. We just need to get that photo.
All right, let's go pay our respects.
Can you tell us why you're still wearing a mask? Is that for COVID or to protect your identity? Look at her. So she's the victim now. She's the victim. Look at the victim. When have I ever been caught with Nazis?
To go up there when Posey Parker was here. I saw you with my own eyes.
With Nazis?
Yes, with Nazis.
Me?
Yes, Michael Coulston and all his mates.
You know I wasn't there on that day.
You were there. I saw you. I was there myself.
You're also somebody that can't define what a woman is. I'm not sure we'll take your witness testimony as the strongest here, but...
Here's the thing. It shouldn't matter what my definition of a woman is.
To women it matters.
Up to one person to define to others what they should do. Yeah?
Biology should, though.
Are you not ashamed of what you've done in the last couple of years? If any other product in the world doesn't work as promised, you get a refund. Should you not refund to countries that laid out billions for your vaccine?
The Lord is my shepherd.
Come from this side.
I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still water. He restores my soul and leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I shall fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. Surely, goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Amen.
Are you going to apologise for getting everything wrong, from mask mandates to vaccine mandates? Dr. Tedros, this is your chance to apologise to the world for your role during COVID. Would you like to take it?
Off.
But
And you too, Rukshan.
Why are you picking on Rukshan? He's a person of colour. He's a protected species.
These are not real journalists. These are podcasters.
This is not a...
It doesn't affect me.
Will you take back your statement where you said that I was an old man?
What?
I am home. I am home. I am home. I am home. I'm with my people here. I'm with my Australians. What do you want to do, man? I'm home. I'm home. I'm Australian. I'm home. I'm Australian.
One of us, Rukshan.
I'm Australian.
One of us.
Look at you guys. Look at you guys. I'm Australian. Cowards.
Why is the Prime Minister such a coward? Does he pay you to protect his cowardice? They say regaining trust is the theme this year. Are you part of the reason why they've lost trust in the WEF and everybody finally knows who you are and what you stand for? Thank you, Dr. Tedros, for showing us how transparent you and the World Economic Forum.
Many of the arguments that are made against Israel can be made about Australia. Do you agree? Are you on stolen land?
Oh, we are on stolen land, undoubtedly.
And did we colonise?
We did, undoubtedly.
So now, if an Aboriginal terrorist group committed the same atrocities, would you agree?
No, which one? I better stop, Avi.
If you refuse to move on, you'll be committing an offence. You'll get arrested for that offence.
Right, what's the offence?
Okay. Failure to move on.
Right, under which act?
Under which act?
Yeah.
Mate.
He was already arrested. He was already arrested.
Was that you? All right, mate. You're under arrest. Failure to move on.
Snitches get stitches. James, just so you know, that arrest is more real than the genocide. Do you guys cause trouble or not?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. What kind of trouble?
Breaking in there.
Really? Is that fun?
No.
Do you get in trouble for it?
Yeah.
They're throwing rocks at her. Yeah, all good.
All good.
So there we are. Early on, they're throwing rocks at us already. These are kids out late. Police are barely doing anything.
Why do you need a negotiation? Can't Hamas just release the hostages?
Hamas said yes. When Hamas said yes to the negotiation, Netanyahu said no. Hamas said yes.
Do you believe Hamas?
Of course I believe with Hamas. I don't
You believe Hamas?
I believe Hamas more than I believe Netanyahu. Yes, you can quote me. I believe Hamas more than I believe my Prime Minister. Yes, no doubt.
That is wild. All right, guys. I just think it's amazing, though, that you're in Tel Aviv and you're able to do that. And that's what I love about Israel. I think it's a real robust democracy.
Yep.
Go.
Yeah. Come. There's a lot. There's a lot there. Yep. That was us.
That's a lot. You're going to hear it now. We've just seen a whole barrage coming out of Gaza.
I wanted to meet him. Yes.
Okay, so
I wanted to meet him.
here's the number one.
Shalom.
Shalom, shalom. So
That was a good introduction from
different,
Benji.
Yeah, different. Benji, I know you're watching this and you're waiting to see. I realize I probably should approve his work before I just press play, but I suspect I don't even know where he got that version of that video where it doesn't censor, because on some platforms that we stream to, you can't misgender people. And the punchline there, whilst quite funny, was a misgendering, and my reaction time was quite quick. I managed to stop it before the misgender happened, but we need an edited version, and I really like he's really gone to the wall. There's more wall in here, so I really like how.
I can't believe my whole Psalm 23 made it in there. The entire Psalm, Benji. Maybe I've converted him as well over to the Christian cause.
Slowly but surely, you're working your way through. So, welcome everybody to tonight's show. Obviously, a somber day. 2 years since October 7, 2023. I can't believe it feels like, in one way, a lifetime ago, and in another way, it's just yesterday. But so much has happened since then. I remember, I guess on October, I remember what I was doing when I first started seeing these videos on X, and starting to realize what was happening even before my family in Israel knew what was going on. It was very early in the morning there, but just also the Jewish holiday. And I don't think that day, I think by the end of the day, I realized this was, I remember writing it, so I could probably go back. It'd be interesting to go back and look at my tweets from that day, to be fair. But I do remember saying this is going to be Israel's 9/11, and it really has become essentially that. And it was just the scale of it. We didn't know all the details. What we knew on the, in those the first 24 hours was what we saw in the live streams that were shared by Hamas themselves, the body cam footage, the logging into victims' phones and live streaming from their feet. And you fast forward to today. I guess I did predict. I did predict the flipping of the script quite quickly. I remember, the first 24, 30, 48 hours, people were shocked. I think humans were just not unprepared to see such horrific images, but then quite quickly, Meta started banning the footage because our videos started getting pulling down, even because we flew straight to Israel. And when we were using B-roll of the attacks to remind people what was happening, Meta and Google and YouTube, they started removing those videos, which was like an alarm bell for me immediately, because exactly what I thought might happen happened. People started denying it was even true. And for people that ask that questions, there's actually a website that you can go to that I'll find the URL to see that footage, to remember what the horrific day was like. Before we get into kind of the housekeeping here, do you remember what you were doing on October 7, 2023?
I do remember, actually. I was at a wedding reception, and I remember about this kind of goes to what I do during wedding receptions sometimes, but during one of the breaks that we had, the dinner break, I was just scrolling through my X, and I happened to come across, I think, a footage. It was from a film from someone's window, and it was looking down onto the street view, and it was what appeared to be armed. I didn't know at the time it was Hamas, whatever it was. I just knew it was some armed group that was shooting into civilian areas, all going around. And I think I remember messaging you at that time as well about that. And throughout the rest of that reception, here and there, when I got an opportunity, I was getting these updates on my X, and I just remember it so well, because obviously of that time and the moment. And it didn't really dawn on me, Avi, at that particular moment, the significance of what was happening. I knew it was something that was a major incident. But to see obviously 2 years on from that day with still very open wounds, and obviously we've had the war as a consequence of the actions of that day, and not just the impact on Israel and in Gaza, and obviously the very real impact that it has over there. And I got to see that firsthand a few weeks ago, but also the ongoing impact it has had on our societies as well here in Australia.
Yeah.
Some of which we'll probably talk about today. So that's all been something that I didn't really anticipate at that very moment, and I don't think many people did. But I do remember the initial aftermath that many people, after have seen that horrific footage, savagery really, and I said that before on my X, looking back at some of the footage, because you see people resharing some of those videos, especially on X, and it was savagery. It was very, it's not something that you expect to see normally. And the fact that it was actually a lot of that, we got to see that because it was live streamed by the terrorists themselves, by Hamas themselves. And the introduction for me to this kind of whole propaganda space was, like you said, a couple of days after, when people started denying that it was actually real. That what we watched on those first couple of hours during that attack, where Hamas was live streaming their savagery, people started all of a sudden saying, hey, that didn't really happen. That was all, it's all fake, it's all propaganda. They never did those things. And it was just insane, because being someone who's discerning, being able to watch obviously unfolding live coverage of multiple events throughout the last couple of decades, seeing that, it was very evident that that was actually real. It was just shocking and savage, but they actually live streamed what they did. And then, yeah, we've had discussions since that point about all manner of propaganda and conspiracy, and the world's kind of taken a massive 360-degree turn on multiple issues, and it has been a massive information war, a massive propaganda war, and we can dissect what that means for both sides of this conflict. But here we are today, 2 years on. The wounds are very raw, and we're still confronting very much the same issues when we look at the aftermath of October 7th. So yeah, I think it's it's a very somber day. It's a shocking day, and then having it being a day, I think it really is for us and for many around the world. I think it's a day of remembrance of the actual attack itself, and the victims and the tragedy, and it's sad to see that people don't understand that part of it as well. That it is like a solemn, somber day of reflection and a day of mourning for many, but we do have instances where it's also being celebrated. So it's all very sick. It's all very twisted. I'll save the rest for the commentary of the things that we discuss. But what's that you've got?
So I was just going to say, this is the website, or there's a couple websites now, but this is Hamas-massacre.net. And I'm not going to scroll it because obviously last week I had to pull our video off of YouTube just to be safe when we accidentally ran the footage of the terrorist being taken down. So I don't want to get forced into that position again. But you can see here, and I say to watch it just to remember, because we've been lied to for 2 years now. We've been denied. And this is not all the footage, but it's some of the footage. It's enough of the footage to remind you the savagery and the animals that perpetrated these horrific crimes 2 years ago today. That's Hamas-massacre.net. And I think there's other websites. So if somebody in the comments wants to put up some of the other websites that has that for that purpose, it was kind of to counter the lies, especially when the main platform started to ban them.
And I believe there's a TV series that'll be available tomorrow our time from Paramount that will kind of show a perspective of the people that what they went through on the day, especially like some of the heroes and stuff. That story being told through a TV series run by Paramount, and we also have a documentary by Dinesh D'Souza that I believe is available soon as well.
He's going to come on the show, actually. I already spoke to him. He said he's coming on, and I forwarded you the message. I just got to organise it with his booker. So we'll organise that soon. I love him. I think he's been great. Since that debate he did with Nick Fuentes, my respect blew blew up for him because I just watched the way he's essentially, he'll talk to anyone, and even if he disagrees, especially if he disagrees, and he's just such a great debater. And I want to talk about another debate that's making headlines at the moment, but we'll get to that at the end. Before we get into it, guys, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining. I know there's a lot of people, especially in the Jewish community, that aren't joining tonight. It's a Jewish holiday, but thank you to everyone that is here. Make sure while you're here, smash that like, the share, help the algorithm. Let's keep growing this community, which is slowly growing, and we love it, and I appreciate each and every one of you. As you can see below me and Rukshan there on the screen, below Rukshan is his YouTube chat, just scrolling along, and the one below me is my YouTube chat. As usual, we'll read all the super chats. So if you want us to read your comment, make sure to send a super chat on either YouTube channel, and we'll read it, whether it's a question, a statement, a redirection of our conversation. It's up to you guys. There's a comment here from 1984 Punk, says Avi is an imbecile. So you get to write that for free on the scrolling one. Is that must be on your channel?
My channel is all the guys. I welcome all the people that want to talk about Avi. Come to my channel. Bring the super chats over to Rukshan's channel on YouTube. Say what you want about Avi, and you've got a chance of getting up there. Obviously, we got to keep the decorum up.
Yeah,
standards up there as well. There are community standards we have to uphold. I'm not saying go have a free for all. There are certain community standards, guys. So just keep that in mind.
Why feed the troll, Ben? I don't know. Sometimes I just feel like feeding him. You got to listen. We did have this discussion last week because we were talking about, on Rukshan's feed especially, there's always people complaining that he's doing a show with me. But something that I noticed that was interesting that I spoke to Rukshan about last week is that so they complain about him doing the show with me all the time. But when he does a show with me or a show without me, him on his own channels gets more views when he does it with me. So it means I'm driving those trolls and those haters to come watch it. So we support it. We'll take it. I think tonight the focus is going to be a bit about October 7 and what's happening now. I think we'll start with the news this morning that broke this morning in Melbourne. In fact, I was on GB News to talk about it as soon as it happened, but let's look at the report here.
Good evening. The nation's leaders and Jewish community have expressed their outrage after pro-Hamas and anti-Semitic slogans appeared across Melbourne on the anniversary of the October 7 attacks.
The Prime Minister says Australian Federal Police will work alongside state investigators to hold those responsible to account. Gillian Lantouris reports.
Messages of hate scrawled across Melbourne on a day meant for mourning.
Absolute travesty. It's disgraceful.
Vandals targeted 4 locations, among them Glory to Hamas on a Fitzroy billboard and October 7, Do It Again on an Officeworks nearby, while the banner was unfurled in front of motorists in Preston.
Especially on today. Why do you do it today?
October 7 marks the 2-year anniversary of the Hamas terrorist attack on Israel. Joseph Carter and his sister Julie were on their way to a Jewish memorial service when they saw the billboard.
I think it's an absolute disgrace, and whoever did it should be put in jail.
Inside the service at a Collingwood art gallery, prayer and reflection, as sirens sounded at the exact moment of the music festival massacre 2 years ago. A suburb away, this.
That says it all. It needs to stop.
And for the owner of a Northcote bike and skate shop, he's become collateral damage in a war he never wanted to be part of.
It's getting out of hand now. It's getting ridiculous. Now it's going to cost money to buff this down.
Those graffitis were taken down quite quickly. I think the focus and attention should be on what the government needs to do and act now.
Condemnation came from all sides of politics.
This graffiti is hateful. It has no place. And it's even more hateful on a day where we stand in support of a Jewish community that is grieving.
The Prime Minister saying the people responsible must face the full force of the law. The AFP will work with Victorian police to bring them to justice.
We stand with all those who endure loss. We stand with all those who endure hope. All who have had to hold this 2-year vigil, which must feel like an eternity.
Those responsible
must face the full force of the law. All Victorians deserve to feel safe in their own community.
While the rioting has been cleared, members from the Jewish community say the damage has been done. They're calling on the government and the police to take a stronger stance on anti-Semitic behaviour and bring those responsible to justice.
This has been probably the most horrific time that the Jewish community has ever experienced in Melbourne.
OK, we'll go live now to Jill, who's on St Kilda Road tonight. Jill, a pro-Palestine group is pressing ahead with a vigil this evening.
They have just begun marching. About 150 people have arrived here on St Kilda Road. They're marching all the way to Parliament House, where they will stage a vigil. They will have a candlelit vigil to remember those who were killed in Gaza. Organisers say that they are hurting too on this day, but this is relatively peaceful. They are marching silently to Parliament House, and the big day will actually be this Sunday at the State Library, where we are expected to see the scenes that we see every other weekend. Alicia.
OK, Gillian Lantouris, thank you.
Good evening.
So there's a fair bit to unpack there. A couple of points which I'll make before I pass it over to you, which I made on GB News this morning, is firstly, this was in the heart of Fitzroy, all that graffiti. And as you can see, I didn't even see that footage. I think that footage, I haven't seen that online, but you can see it's leftists. This is in the heart of the most progressive suburb in Melbourne. And this is not, you know what? This is what the pro-Palestinian movement is. So when they've been chanting from the river to the sea and denying that it meant that they want the annihilation of Jews, when they say that they've been calling for a ceasefire, when they've been telling us all these things and denying their support for Hamas, they're lying. They've always been lying. And the idea that on the 7th of October, 2 years to the day of the brutal attack, that they, one, think it's a great idea to hold a vigil for Gaza, which, remember, at this point 2 years ago, Israel hadn't shot a single fire back. It took about 2 weeks before Israel even began its operation in Gaza. So they're rallying today, and on top of that, they're rallying, and this messaging that's being blasted by left-wing activists is happening on the day to the day, but also days before probably the peace that they've been chanting for 2 years and promising us that it was all about is coming. It's really happening now. So it proves, and that's why I think they're messaging. That's why I think they're mask off now, because they realize the gig is up. We all know that they were really about the annihilation of Israel, and everything that everybody said about them, that they just hate Jews and they want dead Jews. They want more dead Jews. Was true the whole time. And there's no point in pretending anymore, because in a few days, they're going to either have to quit protesting because there's actually peace, not just a ceasefire, an end to the war with the opportunity of Palestinians to rebuild in a proper way Gaza, giving Palestinians of Gaza a real opportunity to a new start. That's coming. And so they're either going to have to stop their campaign because they got what they want, or it was never what they wanted, which now the world gets to see was exactly right. It wasn't what they wanted. Anyways, your take.
Yeah, look, I think it reflects on the fact that as Australia, as a society, we have a lot of issues. Obviously this is, far left extremism, as you've put, and being in Fitzroy kind of makes sense. And even seeing the images of that CCTV, I hadn't seen that till now, of that other graffiti behind on that brick wall. It does look like the same type of, far left vagrants that we have running around Melbourne. These extremists, mostly, I think, from these Antifa style groups that are very much a part of the pro-Palestinian movement. I mean, they're a part of like the vanguard of that movement. They do the security, they run those events, they're the violent ones that come and push back against people, for instance, marching with Australian flags. It's all one and the same, as far as I'm concerned. And what's very telling, Avi, in all of this is if you look at that graffiti, glory to Hamas and, the martyrs and all this kind of stuff. Yes, glorifying Hamas. Okay, whatever, right? That's in itself. That's very obvious that in this country we don't this terrorist organization, and we have people openly now glorifying terrorism. But beyond that, if you read the text on two of those walls, it says October 7th, do it again. So beyond glorifying terrorism, it is also again calls for more terrorism, more death, more savagery. We've seen the footage of what happened October 7th. So there's people in our country, in Australia, writing, do it again. And like you said, these are the same people who pretend to be peaceniks, calling for peace, saying that there's a genocide, making all these claims, right? And yes, there's claims to be made and there's suffering that's happening and all those things can be adjudicated. And we're doing that in this country. We do that. We have a country in Australia where the Prime Minister has recognized a need for a two-state solution in the state of Palestine. So it's not like the Australian government is not bending its knee in some instances to what these groups have wanted over the last couple of years. There has been this almost symbiosis between the Labor Party, the Greens, and this movement when it comes to certain things that they're putting out into the community. But throughout all of that, there has been an attack on everyday Australians, including members of the Jewish Australian community, who don't support these acts of terrorism. Like, we don't support terrorism. We don't support October 7, do it again. Not in this country. We don't support that crap. And they're just calling for more of this continuation of this violence and this extremism and these wars to continue. So I think that should really make people focus on what, like you said, what this means going forward. If there is this, ceasefire and exchange of hostages and somewhat of a normalization of a period of peace, what these groups then do. Because I think they will continue to try to rot the minds of Australians to support these type of extremist causes in this country and promote things like terrorism and normalize it. And these statements that the Prime Minister puts out, Penny Wong, all these people put out, they carry no weight anymore because for 2 years, they've let these people off the hook, let them build up to this radicalization of Australia and Australians publicly. And then we're at the point today where, like you said, on the day where people were slaughtered and people are remembering that in this country, in Australia, there are people who are glorifying the attacks and saying, do it again. I think that's very, it shows a massive issue that's brewing in Australia. And at the far-reaching consequences of that, I believe, is more disharmony in our country, in Australia. But beyond that, possibly people thinking it's okay to carry out certain acts like that on our land as well, on this soil. And because those extremists, they believe the same exact things.
I was just about to Australia. Show you, if you look at them, because we saw some footage, we saw some video footage, you can see who is painting it on there. And do they look familiar? Well, take a look at this footage here. See who's ripping down the statues and burning the statues. Give it a second. We could see it at the beginning. These guys that are dressed exactly the same, in the full black gear. These are the people. So it's them. And look, they're even wearing the keffiyeh. So remember, if you're justifying this behavior or minimizing this behavior by this radical left, the radical left and being cheered on by the Islamists in our community, this unholy alliance, if you're celebrating or even minimizing what they're doing, know that yes, right now it's against Jews in Israel. And yes, and I'm saying Jews because Hamas's charter says Jews. And it was actually talking about Jews all around the world. So it is targeting Jews. And if you don't have a problem with that now, just know that these people believe the same thing about Australia. And if you believe in this country, if you love this country, well, who's going to be left to defend and fight for you when you let them run everyone else out of the city, out of the town, out of Australia? And at the end, you're going to be left having to fight these guys yourselves because there's going to be no Jews left here. It's just going to become too unsafe for Jews. And Jews are leaving Australia now. Guess what they're getting replaced with? Islamists and these left-wing extremists that
I think there's a lot to be said as well about left-wing extremism in Australia. We had the Trump administration going after Antifa in the USA, and we've seen the impact that those left-wing organizations, those extreme left-wing organizations, have had with the unchecked violence that has gone on for decades and decades in the USA. And we are seeing that now, these groups elevating their violence in Australia, their rhetoric in Australia. And it does go unchecked, Avi, because they are a part of the left in Australia, Labor and Greens.
Well, compare it.
They go soft on them.
Compare it to COVID. In COVID, remember they were doing all these Senate inquiries into the far right extremism because of the COVID protests. The COVID protests that didn't target minority groups in Australia. It wasn't against us versus them. It was just people fighting for their own freedom. And yes, there were extremists from those Nazi groups that were using that to try and recruit. But they were a tiny, tiny fringe of those protests. The vast majority of those protests was everyday, Aussies from very diverse backgrounds, in fact.
No, that's a good point. We've had months and months of what the point you're making. We've had years now of documented acts of violence by these left-wing groups, like actual documented acts of violence, vandalism, and threats to the Australian public and specific minority groups. Actual threats that they've made and destruction that they've caused. But yes, like you said, we've seen no attempts by these same Greens and the
Greens, wasn't it?
Samantha Ratnam,
and Marine Faruqi gave evidence to a Senate inquiry. These are all the same people that are the extremists that have been actually propping up these radical terrorists and terrorist supporters in our own community. And I think the time has come that the government needs to stand up and take them on. Like that.
Yeah, and it's not like a free speech. People are trying to make this about free speech. It's not about that. Like there are certain standards that we have to live with in society, and one of those cannot be. It has to be. Sorry, that we cannot have people openly supporting terrorism, enemies of our country.
Free speech doesn't cover incitement to violence or supporting terrorist groups.
Exactly. So we have to make those distinctions. It is not a free for all in supporting violence and hatred in this country. Like there has to be a standard. And if you want to define, if you really want to define like what is the limits of speech, for instance, like free speech, for instance, well, if you're calling for, you're glorifying terrorism and you're calling for, October 7th to happen all over again, like do it again. I think that pushes those boundaries, Avi. Like it's very
That's
obvious.
illegal.
Like
It's illegal. It's doubly illegal. So firstly, it's illegal to support a terrorist group, but then on top of that, it's illegal to incite violence. And when you're calling for October 7 again, you are clearly inciting violence. So it'll be interesting to see if the government actually catches up with they say the AFP's onto the case. I don't have that much faith in them. I am hoping that group were overconfident. They didn't think through their kind of behaviour too. But you know what? This is the same group. If the federal police want to know who did it, just follow the SBS reporters, because I bet you they're going to be doing another documentary on that group. It's the same group. Follow them and you'll find them. Let's read a couple of super chats and move on. So Baz, g'day Baz, thanks for tuning in tonight. Rukshani's right about everything. Avi, vote 1 Rook. We'll just get that off the screen. Thanks for your super chat though. Cruel Intention says, evening ladies and perverts, can't believe I could actually be this ashamed of my country. I do love how like Cruel Intentions will come on and open up like that, but then say something like so serious, and it's true. It's sad. I never thought I would get to a point in Australia where I was so ashamed of where we are.
And I think we do make the international headlines because I don't think I've seen anything else online so far. We are seeing like people holding like protests or whatever today, and commemoration.
We're about to cover. Yeah,
we've seen all that, but I don't think I've seen any other country yet so far in the Western world where we've had massive signs go up glory to Hamas and October 7th, let's do it again. Like Melbourne, especially Victoria, has a major issue with the escalation of this extremism. I don't think people understand, because maybe we're in a bubble and we're just kind of looking at it from here. But when you look at it from an international perspective, we make the world news,
and
because
it's
we
not.
have
It's
all
Melbourne
the
is
crazy-
one of the worst because we've got the radical left element. Sydney also, like, so we'll get back onto the super chats in 2 seconds. But Sydney, for example, you have.
I'm smiling and I'm happy. I'm elated. It's a day of courage. It's a day of happiness. It's a day of pride.
So that was October 8, 2023. That was one day after. And that same sheikh today is leading a rally in the same area in Western Sydney right now as we speak. So this we've got a double problem here. And I know that the low-hanging fruit has been the neo-Nazis who, yes, have certainly taken the opportunity since October 7 and have used the explosion in Jew hatred for their own recruitment. And it's worked. We've seen it, the protests. They've definitely doubled or tripled their numbers in the last 2 years. But they're still not the real threat. They're just the ones that the government go after to say they're doing, to show, to pretend like they're doing something. But they're not doing anything to target these guys that are rallying in support of Hamas. They're not really coming down on the leftists, the extreme leftists in Fitzroy, the most progressive suburb of Victoria, probably Australia, who are celebrating and calling for more terrorism. They're not doing enough.
Yeah, no, definitely. There's
And they don't need more power. I don't want to hear more power.
No.
They don't need more power. Use the laws we have now. Enforce them. Go after the perpetrators, no matter how unpolitically correct it is to go into them. Even if you have to kick in doors in Western Sydney, even that's a sheikh of a mosque. Even if you have to kick in his mosque door, like if he's breaking our counter-terrorism laws, go after him. And if it's the left, I get it. It's your political allies. But don't give them a free pass.
Yeah, I mean, things have moved beyond political correctness. We've seen in the UK, I've been watching, I'm just deviating a little bit, but I've seen videos of police going to, UK residents' homes saying, why were you at the migrant hotel protest, for instance? And at the same time, I've seen a video come out of a imam at in Nottingham or something like this, calling for a armed uprising against the UK and people in that country that don't agree with certain Muslim edicts. On video, putting it out there, saying that we need to have an armed resistance and preemptive strikes, like using this type of language. And because of political correctness in the UK today, police are not willing to handle those type of situations. And we are at that point, I believe, in Australia, where we do have these radical extremist elements, these religious extremists in some instances, that are prepared to say these type of things in our country, in Australia, and there is zero consequences. But God forbid you have a certain flag and Australian flag, and you go in front of some group, and then they'll come after you. Like, this is the lunacy of the countries that we're living in right now. And it's
and
just a shame.
They'll throw the book at a bunch of Nazis, which everybody in the country hates. Like, you remember the March for Australia when they tried to hijack it and pretend like it was all there, like everybody was there for them and all that. They got ridiculed, mocked online for days, if not weeks. Like, Australia rejects them as a whole. Yes, they have managed to recruit since October 7 using that hatred that's been brewing under there. But most of Australia rejects them. The real threat are these leftists that are getting away with supporting actual terrorism, and then also these Islamists for the same reason. There was one thing. Let's read a couple of these super chats, but then I want to go into this this interview, which I thought was actually quite good. I do have critique of it, but it was very good, and we can unpack it with Tom Elliott and the leader of the pro-Palestinian, whatever it's called, that organization, Nasser Mashni, who's the son of a terrorist, got done for. I just like to remind this because he always likes to talk about my personal life. He got done for abduction and bashing before.
Yeah,
So, like,
that was crazy when I found out that he was actually the leader of the leader of the pro-Palestinian movement in Australia is an individual that has kidnapped a kid, put him into the boot or something,
and bashed him, and
bashed
tortured him.
And
it's very on brand. It's very on brand.
And it's not. This is not allegedly. This is stuff that's been convicted of.
Yeah.
So like,
and he
yeah,
talks.
It kind
He talks
of
really
on brand.
He talks really soft. Like he that's his. When you watch debates, like I like to see like to try work out people's technique, because everyone has like a technique that they're working on. So like soon we'll go through the Dave Smith one quickly at the end, but his technique is really to talk softly, to seem reasonable. But today it was a mask off moment because he led the rally today on October 7. And like I said, you know, this because they've come to the end of their grift where they can't pretend it's about a ceasefire anymore because peace is about to happen. So they're escalating and they're not playing that little game anymore. And Tom Elliott kind of challenges him and rattles him a bit, forces him to show his true colours that I knew was there the whole time. The kidnapper came out, the son of a terrorist. Remember, his dad was a terrorist, an actual jihadi terrorist from who actually they say they're Palestinian, but on his birth certificate it says he's Jordanian. You can't make this stuff up. Anyways. Thank you, Yulvi, for the super chat. We got the 20 shekels. You know how much we love those shekels, especially Rukshan since his visit to the wall. Why? We offer a ceasefire and hostage deal. What the hell do they want from us? I'm a Jew whose family is from Iraq and Yemen. And I can tell that's like Yemen because that's how they would say it in Israel. Why should I go back to Poland? I was obviously answering, because that's the funniest thing. You always see in the comments by people. So there's this perception because of the propaganda that you see online that Israel is like a white colonizer state like Australia. It's like an extension of the British Empire, which makes no sense because it was, in fact, the Jews and the Arabs, they were fighting when it was the British mandate, but the Jews were also fighting the British at the time for independence. So it was not an extension of the British colony, but you know they play mental gymnastics to make it all fit. But the actual reality of Israel itself, which you saw firsthand, is that the white people are actually the minority. It's the majority of the country is made up of, you know, you got your local Arabs, that's 20% of the population. Then you have your Middle Eastern Jews, who many of them, most of them, were refugees, just like the Nakba for the Palestinians, who were who either fled or say that they were chasing somehow. And in some instances, I'm not going to deny that it never happened. It was brutal in the first years, but many of them just fled because of the promises from the Arab nations that they were going to wipe Israel off the map, and then you'll be able to take your house and your neighbor's house back. That was a promise they were given. They lost every war. But Arab Jews, like my family, had to escape, you know, in my case, Yemen, because the Arab population was literally coming to hunt them down. Today, there are no Jews left in Yemen, because they got chased out. And guess where? The only place in the world where they were welcome. Like, none of these people were Zionists before. Every single Jew that practices the faith believes that when the Messiah comes, they're going to go back to Israel. But prior to 48, they didn't feel, you know, in places where people were just living. It was like in Australia, I don't feel like if you're a practicing Jew in Australia, you don't feel the need to go to Israel. Like, it's not, your home country is Australia, and you believe as part of your faith, like every single holiday for thousands of years, they've said next year at the end of the holiday, right now we're in a Jewish holiday, at the end of this holiday, they have chanted next year in Jerusalem. So it has always been an aspiration for the Messiah. But when in 48, there was refugees from the entire Arab world of Jews who had only one place to flee to. You guys forced them there. And so they get kind of lost in the conversation, and people pretend like the whole country is European, and they tell you to go back to Poland. But Yuvi here is saying he's Iraqi and Yemen. Thank you for the super chat.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Like, when you look at history, obviously this debate goes on, but if you're talking about colonialism, the whole concept of Syria, Palestina, it comes from the Roman colonialists. The British colonialists continued that on. Yes, there's other histories that you can find about the Philistines and all these kind of things, and maybe
But what were the Philistines? But
that literally translates into invaders, right? I know all of that as well.
But the funniest part, they never say that. You'll never see a Palestinian argue that they're a Philistine because they know that biblically that just debunks their whole story.
Exactly. But I'm just saying, like, the history of colonialism in that area is the establishment of, at least as what we understand to be Palestine, by foreign entities. As far as the biblical, even just the biblical references to that area, even the Quranic references to that area are based around Israel and the sites that we know there from other histories of other regions of that area, like from Egypt, from all the other ancient areas, even the Romans themselves. It is the references to Israel or Jerusalem or things like this. It is not the references the way that the colonialists have made it. So colonialism itself, it just happened thousands of years prior to when Australia was colonized. Like, the same thing happened when these names are created. So I get that, and going there and seeing the people there, Avi, like, obviously, there's people that are also the shade of color of Rukshan, and they're still Jews. So it is not like a whitewashed European looking people that have taken over and they're running the show. Nothing like that. And you got to see that firsthand, because the way that it's shown here and other parts of the world is just completely misrepresented.
It's a narrative.
And I think the pro-Palestinian movement pushes that propaganda as well, because they know that Westerners are maybe lazy to maybe look into it a bit more, and they'll probably believe that. But yeah, until you go there and you see it, then you after you see it yourself in person, you can never convince yourself that it's anything different. So the pro-Palestinians that are actually have been there and are spreading that nonsense, like, I know that they're lying.
Yeah.
And I think most Jews would know that people are lying about those things as well. So it's just so obvious that there's so many lies being told, because people know that a lot of the West is actually illiterate when it comes to history. They don't understand the differences between people. Like, a lot of the West is illiterate on the certain aspects. I'm not talking about everyone, and I'm not talking about people that watch these shows and that are into politics and stuff like this. We have a bit more of a worldly view. But a lot of people, ordinary people, don't really know Avi. And that's who they're after. That's the hearts and minds that they're after with this kind of propaganda. And they've been successful. They've been successful in convincing people that this is what it is.
100%. But I get, again, like I've said that throughout this war, it's a numbers game. When you push the propaganda for years on end, like when you watch video after video after video that always refers to Jews in Israel as white colonizers from Europe, then at some point, like, why would you do the homework? You've seen it everywhere. And like, surely it's like what they say. They always say, what, everyone's lying and Israel's the only one telling the truth. And it's like, yeah, actually, that's true. Why don't you go and look? Because the thing is, it is a numbers game. And when you have billions of people already set up to hate you or to set this narrative, then of course it's going to be repeated. And and people who, and the thing is, a lot of the people, they sound really convincing, because if you come from Middle Eastern backgrounds and what you're watching is actually Arab TV, then that's all you've been fed your whole life. So you actually believe it yourself without looking into it yourself. So like many of the people, especially from those Middle Eastern backgrounds, they kind of share those narratives, believing it. I don't even think that they truly believe it. When I talk to many like Arabs or Muslims, like they believe some of the propaganda.
That's their default position. That's their default position. That is the world that they know, that is the truth that they believe in. They believe it with all their heart and like in all
and
their
the
mind.
ones that go there then turn around and they're shocked. The ones that go there and then do and basically come out as like, I can't believe I've been lied all these years. And to a degree, even within Israel, one of the videos which is going to come out maybe, this week on Thursday, is that the Arab priest that we spoke to in Israel, and like even he watches just Arab TV, and it infiltrates to him you can tell to a degree. So it is really hard, but not to that degree. Like obviously he sees the reality there. So then when you actually push a little further, he has to concede that it's not true, the narrative. So, but to a degree, you see it has infiltrated even within Israel, the Arab-speaking world, people that just watch Arab media. Baz says, we are on the list for supporting Avi and Ruk, so we may as well stand up for truth and Aussie values. You know what's really funny? One of our viewers, and I think he might be watching tonight, Shane, shout out to Shane, sent me a funny idea, a message today, which I think we're going to probably potentially take up. It was to crowdfund that billboard and do glory in the same way, but just do glory to Australia in the heart of the woke central. Take over the billboard, take it back.
Yeah.
What
you know what the
reckon?
problem is? I think that's a great idea. I think we should do that. Glory to Australia. That's amazing. That's an amazing sentiment. But Avi, I just feel that these billboard company would be like, no, we can't do that. That's too political.
Let's find out. Guys. Do you think glory to Australia? We should take back that billboard and pay for it. Do it the right way, and show people that we're actually united as Aussies, and we're going to get behind standing up for Australia and not letting these terrorists or terrorist sympathizers take our country from us. I think it'll work. I think people are going to love it. But I'm going to talk to Ezra in tomorrow's. We have a morning meeting every day, and thankfully it's a bit later now because it's usually in the winter it's at 7 a.m. Now it's at 8 a.m., but soon they change their clock, so it'll be 9 a.m. But I'll bring it up in the meeting and I'll ask Ezra, but I'm pretty sure knowing him, he'll love the idea.
That's a cool idea.
Abby says, I've definitely become, by the way, g'day Abby, I hope you're doing well.
See you, Abby.
Today especially. I've definitely become desensitized, but 10-7, so 7th of October, was hard to stomach. It's fun. It's not funny. It's interesting that you do 10-7 that way because it's like the American 7. Yeah, that's the American one. I remember going to music festivals. I could see myself there. Too relatable for me. You know what? I think every Israeli or anyone who's been to Israel, especially anyone who's been in the south, like in those kibbutz, any of those kibbutz, like there's so much around there that everybody's experienced. So it was so relatable to pretty much anyone that's visited Israel. Because if you've visited Israel, you've been to one of those spots before. For me personally, the army base that got completely butchered was Kfar Aza, and on my deployment, that was my base. And I went to visit it there with Benji. We were probably there a week or 2 weeks after the massacre, and to be honest, I couldn't recognize it. Like I served there. That was my base. What is it now? 20 years ago, almost 18 years ago, and just couldn't recognize it. It was horrific. But everybody, it's not just me, like everybody in some way, I'm just giving you an example of how it's relatable to every single person that goes and visits Israel.
Yep.
Anthony Madison, thanks for the super chat, says, you guessed it, Trump's fault. We'll take that as a comment. It could be referred to, that could be about anything, probably.
Anthony always makes that comment on my feed, so good to see you, mate. How you doing?
Equity, g'day. Thanks for the super chat. Can we stop defending free speech already? It's allowed or acceptable speech, and this is why. Free speech is actually dangerous. Okay. I'm not sure what you're saying there.
I understand. I understand what they're saying. I understand what Equity's saying.
So
like he's saying like we don't need to hide behind the shield of free speech when we should be calling out these kind of acts of that that do fit the mold of free speech, but they're actually dangerous. The things that people are saying, cause for violence and things like this.
But like when we talk about free speech, my problem is when it starts to be subjective, and that's what like the e-safety commissioner enforces rules and tries to censor the internet based on subjective feelings and rules that they get to determine. Where I say all that, like, I don't care if you hurt my feelings. People hurt my feelings all day, every day. In your feed, I think 90% of your comments there that's scrolling are hurting my feelings.
Yeah,
go for it. But we do have laws about incitement to violence. There's the limits to free speech are defamation, and that somebody has a civil right to take you on for it. And then
that's right.
Incitement to violence and supporting terrorism is criminal. And so what we're saying here is we're not saying create any new legislation to take away people's free speech or to give the government more power. It's no. Just enforce those rules. Enforce those laws that people that are going out there and supporting prescribed terrorist organizations, throw the book at them for breaching those laws, and people that are inciting violence, saying we need October 7 again, throw the book at them, because that is not freedom of speech.
Yeah, look, I mean, there's a balancing act, Avi. I think that's what people get worked up about. For instance, you do end up with organizations with group interests that try to elevate their interests as being the preeminent in terms of protecting their particular interests, right?
Sure.
And then sometimes we have governments that play along with that and say, like, yes, we're going to take the easy way out. We're not going to enforce our existing laws. Now, A, B, and C are also illegal. You can't say these things. And that's what happens. And I think the balance is, you have something like, I think it was that Charlie Hebdo thing in France, where the cartoonists were drawing images of Muhammad or something, and they were murdered and killed for it. So people might be saying, well, that's an incitement to violence if you draw an image of Muhammad. But then at the same time, then it's about free expression. So if you can draw pictures of Jesus, you can draw pictures of these other gods and things like this, then in these free societies, then we have to have that tolerance to accept people criticizing different religious figures. So those things have to be balanced alongside also calls for violence and things like this. And it's just always the fact that you're going to have particular groups that have group interests, whether it be, Muslim groups, Islamic groups, Hindu groups, it doesn't matter. It's often in Western societies, it's the foreign groups that have come to the country, right? And look, they're a part of Australian society. I'm not making those distinctions, but I'm saying they try to protect certain interests, whether it's religious or not. And that's where we have to, as a society, draw certain lines. And I agree with what Exweedy is saying, because it can't just. And I almost feel like I'm a free speech absolutist, but when it comes to violence and when it comes to these things, I understand that distinction enough to be able to let my guard down and be like, yes, we cannot live in a society where there's people glorifying terrorism and calling for further acts of terrorism against particularly minority groups in our country. I mean, that's problematic. And there's just people who are just hardcore free speech absolutists that be like, well, it's free speech. And they don't understand the further problems that they're causing, because the governments usually end up going even harder when these issues keep happening over and over and over again. That was what I wanted to say.
All right. Ellen says, yet our PM marches for Gaza. He has done that in the past.
He has historically, yeah. I mean, definitely the Labour have, going back to October 7 and to 2023, I think Penny Wong ended up in a visit to Israel during that time. And she actually refused to visit the sites of the massacre, or there wasn't any time or something like that. I think that's really when Australia's foreign policy, as it relates to this, was kind of made very clear that they're going to take a stand where it's not very, there's no moral clarity in terms of where the Australian government stands on this particular issue as it relates especially to the massacre. And I know they put out statements today and all these kind of things, but it does seem hollow, Avi. Like, it does seem like you don't really believe the words that Albanese are saying when they speak about the Jewish community here in Australia. I think they've just really been let down in Australia. And I don't think anyone who's Jewish Australian that's really been paying attention to what's happened in Australia takes those words of Albanese at face value or actually accepts them as being a legitimate concern for their community. I think they know that they've been let down, and really Australia is very different today for Jewish Australians than it was before October 7th in 2023.
Yep. We have Eric says, thanks, Eric. Got here a bit late, but hope you guys are doing well today. Well, Eric,
Good to
thanks
see you,
for
mate.
jump. Better late than never. You couldn't have been that late. What time did you send that at? I can't even see. Does it give us a time? No. But better late than never. Next time, set an alarm. We don't want excuses. Lisa, g'day, Lisa. They don't want peace. Which is interesting. I think you're referring. Are you talking about the lefties that are, or the pro-Palestinian group? Yeah, I don't think the pro-Palestinian group. I think that's what you must be referring to, because we were talking about the fact that they're now that peace is just about to likely happen. It looks like the peace plan, Trump's peace plan, is going to go through. Now they suddenly have moved on to let's make October. They're saying all the things out loud that they were saying that we knew they were quietly believing before, and they were denying. They don't want peace. Absolutely, they don't want peace. You want to know how we know? Since the peace plan was announced, the whole ceasefire now audience, that crowd, those protest mobs. Did you see a single one of them demanding Hamas agrees to the deal? Not one. Not one. They were going on about nonsense about Greta Thunberg being attacked or something. The thing is, she didn't even claim that happened. She just claimed that they were...
Yeah, just very interestingly how she worded her answers to that. I was listening very carefully, and any decent person in that situation, if she would have known what the people have said about what's happened to her, would have clarified that. But obviously, she's leading into it all and leaving it all mysterious. And it's just
there's a good
ridiculous.
video. There's a good video of Trump. We'll watch that a bit later.
We'll watch that. That's good.
Reacting to Greta, and we can watch a bit of what she said. But she's a compulsive liar. Look, we knew this about Greta from her early days of activism. She was designed for this. They literally groomed her as a child to be a professional activist. She's moved on from climate change. She's gone on to this. And of course, she gets treated too well, in my opinion, from the Israelis. They should have locked her up for a bit and thrown away the key, or just let her into Gaza, to be fair. Just let her in. Matt says no one had an issue after the retaliation of 9/11, but because it's Jews involved, it's a different standard. Well, if you compare it to if you compare two things, if you compare the death toll per capita on October 7, so 1,200 dead in Israel would be, what are they? They're a few hundred.
I think, what's the total population? 9 million?
9 million in Israel, and America, what's 300? Am I right? 300 million?
300 something million, yeah.
So, you've got to times it by, what have we got? 9 million, what's 300 divided by, so 30 times, is it? Is that right? Is my maths good?
Mate, I'm
30 times, so you're talking about, it would have been like 40,000 people being killed on September 11. And for September 11, blamed on September 11, the war on terror killed how many? How many people?
Hundreds of
thousands, if not
millions.
If
not close to millions, if not the displacement of millions and millions of people. And look, the war on terror, again, we can go into discussion about that, but the super chat was correct, because the whole world said, okay, this person's attacked us. This Saudi, pretty much, which is Osama bin Laden, who's hiding out in Afghanistan, and therefore we are going to take it out on Afghanistan.
He was technically born in Yemen. I just want to. That's the only thing that's the second best thing to come out.
Another one of Yemen's exports. And look, the point I'm trying to make is, the Western world felt it okay to do what they did. These same countries today who are trying to hold Israel to a standard kind of dropped all their standards in that particular war even if we want to talk about WMDs and all that kind of nonsense, you know, you can talk a lot about what they did during that time, but they certainly did go into those countries, flatten a whole bunch of places. I think Obama, during his administration, the continuation of those wars, droned more than any single president in the history of the US, killed untold amounts of innocents, but these individuals are celebrated in those countries as great statesmen and leaders. And Netanyahu is held to a different standard. So there is a lot of hypocrisy, and this is a point that's not just made by Israel. Like certain Arab countries make this claim against the United States of America, and certain Asian countries make this claim especially at the UN. So people understand this hypocrisy, but they've kind of let it all go when it comes to, like that person said, Jews in Israel. Like, they are defending themselves, they are fighting back, and as soon as they started defending themselves and fighting back, it's like, oh, you can't do that. And you have to ask, I ask, why not? Like, if a country is attacked, if my country is attacked, if Australia is attacked, I would want Australia, especially if one of our neighbors, and they've come to Australia and they've kidnapped, right, a bunch of Australians. They've killed a couple of thousand Australians, right, and they've kidnapped them and taken them on some boat or whatever across the into their countries, and they're there suffering. I would want Australia to unleash hell on them.
Absolutely.
I think that is just normal. I don't see.
You would expect it.
I would expect it. I would want that as an Australian. I would want my government to get our citizens back to whatever it takes, really. And then, of course,
what does Piers Morgan always say? In the beginning of the war, I would say that Israel had the right and the
just moral justification.
No, he would say beyond that the moral obligation to fight back. But then he decided when suddenly they didn't have the thing to do it when he decided it was too much based on.
If you're asking me, I'm just going to be very candid. As long as they're keeping those hostages in that piece of land in Gaza, all options are open. I believe personally, for a country to do what it needs to do to get those people, whether it's 10 hostages, 5 hostages, I mean, if that's what it takes to protect your people and protect your interests, and
you have a moral obligation. I think as a government, you have a moral obligation. If you think if some terrorist group in Indonesia had, what is it now, like 50 hostages of Australians somewhere in India, I would expect, and Australia would have the moral obligation to its citizens to bomb the crap out of wherever until they get released, whatever it takes to get them back. Absolutely. Does it mean that we hate the poor, the innocent Indonesian victims or wherever it is? I'm just pointing to Indonesia, but they do have like radical cells there, and we had the Bali bombings. That's just the local example I can give. But if they had them, we would expect that, and you would. It doesn't mean, though, you don't care about the Indonesian innocence that's going to get killed. Of course you do, but two things can happen at once. You can care about innocence. And this was one of the things, like even in one of our, when we did interview what is probably a more radical right-wing, the one that was banned from Australia in Israel and the Knesset. And I personally think, I agree with 90% of what you say when it comes to the politics, but it's just that point. I can have sympathy for the innocent victims of the war. On the Palestinian side, I can, but I still think the war is justified because for the reasons you just explained. Baz says, how much do you need for the billboard? So actually, we've got the team today chasing it up. I think Daniel sent off an email to try get a quote on it, and he did show me a design concept, which was like literally the same as the way they wrote it, just changing Hamas for Australia. I thought that was clever and good. And obviously put a little Rebel News in the corner just to really trigger the locals. Oh, damn. How good would that be? So, listen, I'll find out in the morning. We're going to get the team onto it. And I will let you guys know. We'll probably start a campaign maybe tomorrow or something if it's doable. Cruel Intentions says Billboard Fund. Well, Cruel Intentions already giving to the Billboard Fund. I like it. We're already raising money. We don't even know if we can or can't. Like, we need them to also agree to do it. But I think that if it passes,
Look, if you can't get that billboard at that place, just put it up in anywhere in Fitzroy in the city. Like, it's the same.
No, I want that one. I think we want.
You want that one. Okay,
we want
fair
that one,
enough.
but like I think that to be able to refuse it. Like, I remember there was like all this controversy around, like, unless you're saying something offensive, I don't know how they could refuse it. You know, like, I remember people getting all triggered that Clive Palmer was doing all these billboards.
Actually, yeah. I mean, these billboard companies, come to think of it,
They don't care.
these
It's
billboard
money.
companies will just take money.
They'll take the money, and yeah, we might have to pay a little extra for insurance because
I think you're going to have security. We've got to have Daniel stationed there in front of the billboard.
Daniel's
24/7 watch.
Baz says, thanks for the super chats, Baz. Loz in the chat is right. Just make the sign an Aussie flag. That would be perfect. Yeah, that's also an idea. I guess we can ask people what they think. Maybe what we'll do is we'll crowdfund it and potentially put the options to those that are helping fund it.
That's a good idea.
To decide which design, whether it's the Aussie flag. I feel like turning their sign into a love for Australia is super powerful because I told you, like, they are the people that go around knocking down the statues. They hate Australia.
Yeah.
So I think taking the war away from there and saying, no, this is Love Australia, it's just like on so many levels it gets them. A bit like the flag, but it's also turning their exact artwork into that thing. It gives people the clear reference. But maybe we'll let the supporters. I'm not going to promise on that part because well, you might just get too complex and push things too long. But I don't mind the idea. Daniel will let us know what he thinks of that. Lisa, thanks for the super chat. All my kids are festival goers. Can you imagine if that happened in Oz? Exactly. Imagine that there was, and going back to this point that you made, is imagine in Australia there was a rave in which a terrorist group from Indonesia came and, you know, butchered, raped, you know, tortured people, and then also took a whole heap hostage back to Indonesia or to some island. Yeah. And as a parent, gosh, you're scared. It's scary enough thinking about your kids going to...
I think one of the saddest things I saw today was, because obviously we're getting the recaps of what happened on that day. They killed like a disabled child that had gone to a festival with her father, and she's like completely disabled in a wheelchair. Like, obviously, lots of different neurological issues as well. And just to think, like, this child was there at the Nova Festival, enjoying this, you know, moment with her father, obviously. And just no mercy was shown, even for this helpless, disabled child that was there with the dad, and they were just both butchered. It's just sick. These are not people who are like us, the savages that did this. They're just sick individuals, and we shouldn't tolerate that as Westerners in Western society. And we need to understand the difference. What makes us different from others is that we do not celebrate that type of action, and we definitely don't take part in those type of actions, and we fight back against these type of terrorists. And it's just been really, if you look at the Western world, the people that have stood up for that is really been Donald Trump. Without Donald Trump there, without the Americans, we would have accepted this. You know, a lot of places would have folded over. So it's just sick of. It's just seeing that stuff again, and the types of, you know, I saw footage where they murdered the grandmother in her bed, like in the elderly lady. The Filipino worker was looking after, and they killed the Filipino worker as well. Yeah. In the hostages that they have right now, if you think they just got Jews as hostages, they've got some Nepali student as a hostage. So these are like sick, depraved, savage people that have done this.
Yeah.
And it's just this hatred. All the ties that they took. Remember those videos of them beheading the
Beheading the
Thai
Thai. Yeah.
with the shovels and all that kind of stuff. Like they did
Shouting
all of that.
yeah.
These are enemies of humanity, really, and that's why I call them savages. And it's just sick.
They are.
But yeah, just being reminded of all of that, seeing that horrific footage coming up.
Auditing Australia says, thank you for the super chat, says, bloody legend of an idea sign fund. Listen, Auditing Australia, all I'm going to say is some bloody legend gave me that idea. Thanks for the super chat. Eric says, thanks again for this another super chat. I don't know if this was discussed, but I was in the city earlier today, and those Pally supporters was doing their flyers again for another protest. Bit odd. They don't usually do that on a Tuesday. Why today particularly? Because, Eric, guess what? They had a little rally. It's funny because they knew the optics of it wasn't great, so they called it a vigil, but not a vigil for the victims of October 7 on October 7. Instead, a vigil for Gaza on October 7. So they were in the city today doing a special vigil protest for Gaza on October 7 because these people are bloody twisted. They're sick. They're sick, and their masks are finally coming off, and in a minute we're going to listen to the organiser of that. But that's why they would have been out in the city today, and I did consider going there, but to be honest, today I don't have it in me. Like, I don't have it in me to make content making fun of these people or whatever, like filming interviews, mocking them and pointing out what hateful pieces of crap they are. Because, today actually cut deep for me. Like, the last 2 years ago today, on a personal level, my world changed. Everything. And I know that it changed for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. For me, it changed, and it's been a tough 2 years. It sucks the last 2 years. I'm seeing light at the end of the tunnel, but, I didn't want to spend, I felt like today was more to sit there and reflect and to think about, the day. And I was watching some of the footage just to remember those moments when I first witnessed what was happening, and then just thinking about the numerous trips I've done back to Israel in that time, one with you, with Benji, right after October 7, seeing Israel in that period and the shock that it was, like when I got to Israel right after October 7 with Benji, and, there was no one out on the street. People, it was like COVID era. There were COVID type restrictions, but it was also just people were in a complete and utter state of shock. And they were still finding terrorists out in the, where we were driving around.
Yeah.
To, last week or a couple of weeks ago when we went. So, and seeing like Israel hasn't even had a chance to process and heal from the pain. Like going around Israel, everywhere you go, it's still about the hostages. It's still an active, painful experience. And to think that this is dragged out for 2 years already, all because these savages wouldn't release the hostages, and now they're being forced.
Yeah, and I think it's to your point, Avi. Before we move on, like you'll kind of know them by their deeds. Like I don't think there's a need to go show what they're doing today is not something nice that that we would do in Australia normally, like to celebrate or to make it about something else. Most decent Australians would look at what's happening today and understand what happened on October 7th. And, obviously it's a sad moment for a lot of people in our community, and say that, yes, today is a day of remembrance and of acknowledging what people went through on that day. And it's not a day that we make it about something else. Yeah. So decent people will see that. And these individuals obviously can't help themselves. And that is just who they are. They will take any opportunity to, step on the graves of what's happened on that day. So I don't know. I think it's like, there's no need to call them out as such. Like they do it themselves by being there and taking part in these.
No, it's true. But look, I do enjoy the, exposing the bigotry and expose it through their own behavior and actions and words, and just and to be fair, they tried. You can see on the footage they were trying to do like a visual style to be somber as opposed to chanting as they always do. But I bet you if I rocked up, it would turn straight into Jew-hating chant within moments. So, you know, there was always a temptation of that, but I'm glad that I stayed away today. I just, you know, I need to reflect a little bit and think about it. Smokey Bear, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate the support, even without a comment. Enoch says, and this is actually very interesting and true. I've seen trailers to it and I can't wait to watch it. But there's a new vid from Mansour Ashkar, an Israeli Druze today. Girl went undercover on the flotilla, recorded, filmed, exposed them for real. No denying it now. And so I did see the trailer probably a week ago, maybe. I think they were releasing it. I think they were waiting to release it maybe to today. But it literally, you know, they go undercover talking to the leaders of the flotilla, and that are telling them straight up what they're doing, and that there's no real aid on it turns out there was no aid on the boats. It was none of that. It was all for this PR game that they were playing as part of the propaganda war.
Yeah, I was actually thinking, like, I thought about this a couple of days ago when I was looking at the flotilla story. Like, that would be the easiest way to expose what this is in their own words.
Yeah,
and that's interesting. I kind of saw something like, so that's what that's about. Okay, that I'll be looking forward to seeing that, because a lot of people get worked up about this flotilla. There's a lot of even people on the right who are like, well, they're just trying to save people. They just got the aid. They're trying to feed the babies.
Yeah.
And no, I don't think I think it's just massive propaganda, but from them and for their own promotional purposes, for Greta's own promotional purposes. So I think that's one we should maybe even talk about in the next episode and play the video for people to see if they miss out on it.
Yeah. I don't mind. Yeah, maybe we'll do that. Catherine says, interesting. So I got my I've got my notifications on because I'm waiting for a video that I want to bring up on screen that should be coming out in the next 15, 20 minutes.
Yep.
Catherine says, interesting that multiple genocides in North Africa haven't had any protest for their victims, only Pallywood matters. Yep. I'll take that as a statement because it's just true. No, as I say, no Jews, no news. Unknown, thank you for the super chat, says, do people hate Jews because they wrote the Old Testament? Listen, I think the hatred of Jews, what do they say? That's like the oldest hatred in history. But, you know, I don't think there's one single reason as to why people hate Jews. I think it depends on the group. You know, there's religious reasons in which, and I don't think it's because they wrote the Old Testament. I think it might be their religious scriptures just preach-hating the Jews. But, you know, then you have the neo-Nazis for their reason. I think they all feed off each other, and some of the different conspiracies or whatever cross over and they use it to justify. But the reason for the hatred is it does differ. Like, you know, with the left, it's the oppressed oppressor narrative. Like they view the world through that narrative, that lens, you know. So like after the Holocaust, they loved Jews because they were the oppressed. And then, so now when they're successful, they're the oppressors. But yeah, I don't think it's because they wrote the Old Testament. Like, for example, the left don't care that Israel, that Jews, that the Old Testament is the Jewish Torah or whatever. Unless you have a theory, we'll move on. Doza says, the only news that keeps me up to date, the Opposition podcast, keeping it real, God bless. Oh, thank you, Doza.
Thanks, mate. Thanks for joining in.
Queety says, Real Housewives of ISIS filming in Melbourne already. Yeah, well, that's actually one of the stories I was hoping to cover tonight. But you've got, obviously, the ISIS...
That's Australia, yeah. That's Australia.
ISIS brides coming back.
Glory to Hamas, and ISIS brides coming without the knowledge of the Prime Minister. This is where we're at, guys. This is where we're at in this country.
All right. Let's get to this, listening to this Tom Elliott interview with Nasser Mashni, who is the leader of the big pro-Palestine network. That he is the main leader of the organisers of the pro-Palestine movement in Australia.
Yep.
From the people who brought you weekly China Express tour.
Network, Nasser Mashni, good morning.
$999 per person, twin share. T's and C's do apply. Book now at aldiholidays.com.au.
Next guest is President of the Australia Palestine Advocacy Network, Nasser Mashni, good morning.
Good morning, Tom.
Is today the right day to have a pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas protest, the 2-year anniversary of the October 7 attacks?
Tom, I can't believe you're framing 2 years of genocide, hundreds of thousands killed and injured.
So it is the right day? It is the right day?
At some point in the future, you're going to be ashamed of the stance you've taken.
I'm not. I asked you a question. Answer it. Is it appropriate? No, I won't. Is it appropriate?
I think we have to, Avi. We have to qualify first that just in the starting of his argument against Tom Elliott, he's saying hundreds and thousands of people killed in the 2-year genocide.
I was thinking as well, listen, do we stop it ever? But tell me when you want me to stop it.
Yeah, it's a flat-out lie, obviously, even according to the Hamas Ministry of Health, which is dubious most times, if not all the time. They've estimated those figures to be about 60,000 people. Now, again, horrific, and those includes a lot of combatants, if you look at it from the way the West and Israel interpret those numbers. But again, this guy's just exaggerating and lying.
And why do you need to exaggerate that? And the reason why they need to exaggerate, because they know that the real numbers, when you say it and you actually crunch it and you take out the terrorists or the child soldiers or whatever, it's not all just women. It's definitely not a genocide then. And so that's why they struggle, that they have to make up numbers. But notice how he opened. That's what I was saying to you. This guy's technique that I've watched him do over time is he comes in real with a soft, calm tone. And it's all guilt. Because one day you're going to be ashamed looking back at your genociding support. Anyway, tell me when you want me to stop if you want to.
Yeah, no, I just thought that was important.
Yeah, it is protest today.
As you went to apartheid South Africa in your youth and celebrated that the last time we spoke,
I didn't celebrate it. No, so that is absolute rubbish. I simply said I have seen apartheid. I also went to the Soviet Union when I was young, and I've seen communism up close. And I can tell you, all the idiotic members of the socialist left here who have not seen communism up close don't realise what it is. Just in the same way that people like you don't know what apartheid is because you actually never saw it up close. But I'm asking you...
UN, international humanitarian organisations the world over have called it a genocide and have called it a apartheid.
Right, so is today a good day to have a protest?
Palestinians and their supporters have every right to mourn the tens of thousands of Palestinians slaughtered in
Gaza. But I mean, today, okay, how do you think Jewish Australians feel today? For them, this is a day of great sorrow, and you're having a protest. Is today the right day?
Do you think that we're not in sorrow, Tom? Are we not in sorrow?
Yes, but just because you're in sorrow doesn't... Okay, would you demonstrate in favour of...
Is their suffering greater than ours, Tom?
No, it's not greater, but you respect certain days.
They should respect it. This is Australia,
I'm separating communities. I'm simply saying is...
The thing here is it's not only that they're protesting today, it's that they're choosing. It's not like it's just like their weekly Sunday one and it happens to fall out today. It's they're choosing to specifically do an extra rally today about the war, about the victims of Gaza, without mentioning a moment of silence for the victims of Hamas, not calling for Hamas to hurry up and release them. Nothing. It's about demonizing Israel on the one day that you could just set aside. And it's not even asking you to take off your normal protest schedule. It's saying why today are you specifically choosing to go out of your way to rally in support of Hamas, the people that committed these atrocities and, by the way, caused the war that you're complaining so much about?
Yeah, and this is the kind of individuals and group that I have no doubt would take offense if an Israeli group or a Jewish group, for instance, held some vigil or some protest or celebration on a day that's significant to them. That was meant to be just about observing something that happened to them at the hands of whatever. I'm just using this as an example.
No. Yeah, it's a good point.
they would take great offense to it. So as a community leader, this particular individual cannot he cannot understand or seem to understand what Tom is saying, that in Australia, we have different communities that are going through these different issues. Can we not, just for this day, just for October 7th, where there was a very clear attack against Israeli civilians and the slaughter and the butchering of them, just for this day, can we not allow just the Jewish people to have it as a respectful day of somber mourning just
and
for
you
them?
don't, you know what? You should be mourning it as a human being. You demand of everyone else to mourn the victims of the war, yet you won't mourn the innocent victims that were targeted, hunted, brutalized, raped, butchered, burnt, kidnapped. Fine, we're not even expecting you to do that because we know you're a heartless, lying sack of terrorist supporting scum. But why are you going? It's not that you're just not mourning it. You're going out of your way to fully thingo it, to support it.
And I'm not a Israeli or a Arab or a Muslim, whatever. For me, as just another member of the Australian society, this comes across as people justifying what happened on the day. That's just what it looks like. It literally looks like this group are justifying what Hamas did on that day. I mean, any normal person looking at this that's not swayed by some type of propaganda towards either side would look at this as some sort of justification. And I think that's, in the comments I saw someone saying that they're trying to erase the crimes of Hamas on that day and kind of make it like, this is all a part of something bigger. And this is the claim that they always make and an argument that they put forward. So I think it plays into that, Avi. Like they just want to, October 7th cannot by itself be this thing because they don't believe that it was what the rest of the world believes it was, a terrorist attack. They don't see it that way. They see it as resistance. And that's why we had the day after October 7th in 2023, we had those jubilation, those celebrations, those fireworks, people handing out candy and lollies. So for them, it's an act of resistance. And I think it all kind of plays into this. But yeah, we can keep listening in.
Sorry, I'm organising things while we're...
You have protests...
people over another.
You have protests every week.
Elevating one over another.
You have protests every week, and you can't see that perhaps on this day, today is not the day to have a protest.
Tom, we protest every week to say to our government to do more. As we speak, Australia is transferring weapons secretly to Israel, directly to Israel, F-35 parts. Absolutely.
Rubbish.
One day it'll all come out, Tom, and one day it's going to be fine.
It'll all come out.
Australia says we do not send weapons, and the definition of a weapon isn't the casing, isn't the primer, isn't the gunpowder or the projectile. It's an assembled unit. But if you send a shell or send a bullet or send gunpowder, you are contributing to the slaughter. Australia is complicit. We protest for that.
Okay, would you protest in favour of Islamic terrorism?
So it's by the way, it's all lies, but we already know that. He opens with lies, and it's all guilt-tripping lies. It's like he doesn't see the evilness in what he's doing on this day, but he expects you to see, and the evilness that he's perpetrating today is plain. There's no question. We know what Hamas did on that day, and we know that you're choosing today to do it.
Yeah.
Terrorism on the anniversary of September 11 in America.
Would
you? I'm just asking you. Would you?
Palestinians and supporters.
Yep.
Tom, what I want to know is why you are not affording us as Australians the same right to mourn the death and destruction.
Oh, Nasser, you have the same right. You've had over 100 protests every single weekend. Melbourne is blocked. You say you don't have the right to protest. You do.
Tom, this is a vigil honouring the loss of a civilization destroyed, bombed to smithereens by a Western government.
Well, they shouldn't have attacked on October the 7th. Says you don't like wars, don't start them.
Did you not know what happened on October 6th? Did you care about the 250 Palestinians killed in the 250-odd days before October 7th?
There was a ceasefire up until October. Well, okay, Hamas has been offered a ceasefire and it looks like it will take it. Is that a good idea?
Anything that stops the killing is a good idea. But, Tom, it's very important to understand for an oppressed people, peace is not the absence of oppression. For the oppressor, perhaps the absence of resistance is something they're looking for. But for the oppressed, peace is not the absent oppression.
Right.
Peace is when you get justice.
So 2 years and 1 day ago, there was a ceasefire. In a week or so, there'll probably be another ceasefire. So Hamas had a ceasefire, then it attacked, and, you sow the wind, you reap the whirlwind. Now it's going to attempt or probably accept another ceasefire. Will you be happy with that ceasefire?
Tom, what we want is justice and liberation and freedom for everybody from the river to the sea. No more apartheid and no more genocide.
Right. Did you ever go to South Africa in the old days? Do you know what apartheid is?
Tom, we went through that. I was a milk bar kid that grew up poor. Right. Never had the chance to do international travel like you.
Yeah, what language?
Did you hear that little dig?
Milk bar kid, but this is the guy I think who kidnapped the kid as well. It's like.
He's trying to have
I'm just remembering the milk bar story now.
Oh, that's right.
Something to do with the kidnapping was the milk bar.
Yeah. But he just has a dig at Tom for being, and this is again the narrative, because Tom is a white privileged middle-aged male. He is enemy number one, or for Nasser Mashni, enemy number two. Nasser Mashni goes on about the always was, always will be, but he co-opts that group. He doesn't give what he cares about. He uses them because he co-opts their language, uses their language, applies it all to Israel, Palestine, when it's also completely different things. Like, you want to talk about indigenous rights, it ain't the Palestinians, but put that all to the side. He's, Tom Elliott is at the top of his list of the enemy, because according to their worldview, Tom needs to be stopped.
Which is the word? What language is the word?
When Nelson Mandela says...
What language is the word? If you know so much about it, what language is it?
Hafrada is Hebrew for separate, which is the same as apartheid and in South Africa.
What language is it? Just tell me if you know so much about it. What language is it? You don't know, do you?
Nelson Mandela says that apartheid in Palestine is worse than South Africa. Then we know.
Well, he's dead, so he can't be saying that at the moment.
And obviously he was a terrible person, according to you, Tom. He said it when he was alive, and he said our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinian people.
What language is it?
Tom.
You don't know, do you? You know so much about apartheid, you can't even name the language.
Exactly. Tom, I'm not going to entertain
What's the language?
That conversation.
Just what language is it? You don't know. You think you know things. You don't even know what language it is.
Do you know what Hafrada means?
No, but I'm not pretending that I understand that.
Well, I know that the UN said it's apartheid. Human rights said it was apartheid.
What language is apartheid? What language is it?
When B'Tselem, as Israel's leading human rights organisation, says that we are practicing apartheid.
You don't even know what the language is. You don't even know what the word means. You can't even name the language.
You don't even. So Israel's human rights organisation, the peak representative body, the State Department.
What language is it? What is the language? How can you keep quoting a word you don't even know what? If I say bonjour to you, you know I'm speaking French. If I say hello, you know I'm speaking English. You don't know. Well, then define the word.
Apartheid is a system that privileges one over another for whatever reason.
Okay, I'll educate you. It means separateness, and the language is Afrikaans. Do you know what Afrikaans is?
Tom, I know exactly everything. You will not be able to teach me anything about Palestine.
Well, you couldn't answer. You couldn't answer what you couldn't even answer the language that apartheid is.
I chose not to answer, Tom. I chose not to answer.
You didn't answer because you don't know. You're like a school teaching graduate who can't pass a numeracy or literacy test. You don't know.
I'm happy to have a debate with you in public where you don't have a control to turn my mic.
I'm not saying your mic is on. Just tell us. Okay, Afrikaans. What language is that?
Listen,
this guy just making up crap. He didn't turn his mic off.
He didn't turn his mic off. He's a liar. He's a compulsive liar. But it's the funny thing is that if you actually read the conversation, you understand he didn't know what it means. And Tom realized that he had him trapped. It kind of reminds me of my street interviews when I realized, oh crap, this person who goes on and uses this word because the truth is,
and people are saying why does it matter? But I think what Tom's point is that they make a big song and dance about these terms. He
constantly, how many times does he bring it up in a single, does he use that word in a single interview? And he actually doesn't even know the definition. It doesn't know what it means, the real word, the definition of the word. So it just shows it's because it's become like like fashionable to use these words, like these buzzwords, like genocide, apartheid. What else do they use? Starvation. They all have literal meanings. Now we know that he knows what starvation means. We know, but apartheid, which is one that they've used for many, many years, and Israel is not an apartheid state. Like, if you go to Israel, you will see for yourself. It
is not an apartheid.
1 in 5 people is Arab, but then on top of that, like, the majority of people are all different shades of color, and there's no rules, different laws and rules for everyone.
Yeah,
that's there. It's just.
I can attest to it. I can attest to it just from the Nigerians that we ran into.
Yeah,
the Nigerians.
They were the most passionate.
Israelis. And they were the most passionate about defending Israel, the Christian Nigerians. And it is not an apartheid state. And I think that's the point that Tom is making, that he has been to South Africa during apartheid and he's seen what that system looks like. Now, there's definitely a issue in Israel, Avi, around historical conflict around land and ownership and war and all this kind of stuff. But in Israel proper, it is not an apartheid state in terms of how people get along and live and the rights and things that they have. It is almost 100% equal, if not people feeling a great sense of patriotism regardless of their backgrounds. Like, I saw that firsthand. But that's not to say that there isn't actual real issues. But what I think the point that Tom is making is that it's not apartheid. It's different when a group of people want to be separate, which sometimes I feel like it's what's happening in Israel. There's certain groups that don't want to be a part of the system and don't want to be, intermingling with everyone else. And Hamas might be one of those groups that, from the river to the sea, literally for them means their way or the highway.
Yep,
and I think Tom is trying to make that point. There is a difference, and language does matter. And just to kind of hoodwink people by saying apartheid, it's not really what's happening in Israel. Like, if you wanted to live in Israel as an Arab, as a Muslim, as a Christian, whatever it is, you can do that. We went to Old Jerusalem, like the Muslim Quarter, whatever, all these areas. It's just like, all the shop owners that we saw, Avi, in different, not even in Jerusalem, the other areas we were. They were all the Uber drivers, people that were working in the stations, the soldiers in different areas. They were Arab Israelis.
Yeah,
like you cannot look at a system like that and compare that to apartheid in South Africa.
And Tom knows that, and Mashni knows it as well.
That was very different.
Absolutely.
Tom, the reality is that Israel is practicing apartheid. It's also guilty of genocide.
All right.
The phone
is still on. Just tell us, you keep quoting this word, you don't know what it means, you don't know what language it's from.
Australian Palestinians and their supporters have a right to mourn the deaths of our people.
So today's protest is appropriate on October the 7th. It's appropriate.
Vigil, Tom, and if we wanted to protest, we'd be right to protest. But today is a vigil. It's a silent vigil. There'll be poetry, dirges. We'll be hearing from Indigenous folk, from Jewish folk, and we'll be commemorating the loss of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians.
Right. Thank you for your time. Nasser Mashni there. See you again. People quote the word apartheid. He didn't even know what language it is. Now, for those of you who don't know, it's Afrikaans, which is descended from Dutch and Flemish, spoken by the white South Africans from that part of the world.
Anyways, well done, Tom. It was, a lot of the times when I see Tom interviewing him specifically, it frustrates me a little bit because I feel like just push him a little. Yep. He's a liar. He's a compulsive liar. And
I wanted to push back on the someone actually said it's not Uber drivers in Israel. That's right. They don't have Uber, they have Get. Which works pretty well. It's actually very good. Taxis. But I wanted to push back on some of the comments that I'm seeing where people are saying that where was it? I just missed it, Avi. Maybe I'll come back to it because they were saying the UN. They were saying the UN has defined all these different terms and stuff. Look, for most intents and purposes, the UN is a dysfunctional organization. People have to understand that the UN itself, the way that our relationship with the UN works, is it is not this this almighty authority that can define things and say things as they are. Because what I see distinctly happening in the UN as it relates to this particular issue, Avi, is that you have one Jewish state, right? Then you have all the other Arab states, which maybe 50 or more Muslim countries, Muslim majority countries, and then you have a mix of other countries. But what happens is they overwhelmingly they tend to bully Israel, really. And when they pass these amendments or pass these judgments or these organizations and they do these things, it is very skewed. And not all countries are equal. Like Australia is not the same as, for instance, Iran at the UN, even though sometimes today we match them when it comes to resolutions. Like there's a difference. So I don't think the votes of those type of nations carry any real weight, and that is why you see constantly Donald Trump and the U.S. administration pushing back against the UN and just ignoring them completely. And I think sometimes it's justified because you have Russia, China controlling smaller nations.
The funniest thing to me is the people
means absolutely nothing.
The funny thing to me is the people that use the UN as their backing, but then when you search their Twitter feed or something for the United Nations, they've previously called us, what is it, Auxexit or whatever, to leave the UN because you weren't happy about the UN trying to dictate to Australia certain things.
Well, the same like cookers that were like, I'm just using that term because they call me all sorts of names these days. But the same people that said, "Oh, we can't believe the UN on the vaccines and the World Health Organization. They're very dodgy. These globalists, you could never trust them," are now verbatim quoting the UN as being this sanctimonious, can do no wrong, the authority. And then someone in the comments is saying, well, you can't, USA veto, so how can you say Israel is being bullied? I'm saying the bullying that the UN does today to the world, especially to the West, is in numbers of these resolutions that they pass. They make it appear like everyone else agrees with them. But the reality is the Western world, for the most part, is against the edicts of the UN.
Let's just put it this way. The UN resolutions against Israel are more than every other country combined, and that's before October 7, so before this war. Just to give you a sense of how biased it is against Israel, even before October 7, so before this war. And if you're trying to argue that Israel is worse than, I don't know, the Assad regime or China, or, pick a country, pick an authoritarian country that kills its own citizens.
Where are the resolutions against them? Where are
none of all these countries. So Israel has more resolutions against it from prior to October 7 than all of those countries combined. Think about all the African states, all the these places that have butchered millions of people. Have had less resolutions combined than single little Israel prior to October 7, prior to the war that you are now suddenly calling genocide. And the thing is, when you ask Mashni when the genocide started, and I like to ask these questions to those that shout genocide, but I know Mashni, he'll say the genocide started in 1948. So it's complete and utter nonsense. Let's read a couple of super chats and move on. We've got Eric. This Nasser guy sounds real psychopathic. Just how he calmly spews his lies and ignores the questions. Just disgusting, man. Yep. Take it as a comment, and I totally agree with it. It is vile. I think we got a bit of a mask off today, though, with the whole idea of their rallying on October 7. Sonny says, thank you for the super chat. Welcome back, Aussie, Rukshan and Avi. Bless you both. Still catching up. UK Israel coverage. Victim left. Sidestep real discussion. We all battle demons. Get over yourselves. Stop wrecking Australia. Projecting your shit on Oz. Well
Thanks,
said,
Sonny. A lot of stuff there, but yeah, I agree with
and enjoy. I hope you're enjoying our coverage from both the UK and Israel. There's still a couple of videos to go from Israel, but yeah. And then there's Sonny added, defund UN now.
Yeah.
They walked out on Netanyahu, Israel like toddlers, discussing what was interesting.
Yeah.
What was interesting?
I agree with Sonny. I was going to say, Avi, just wanted to make a point that other people have made as well. Where is the UN on Nigeria right now?
Yeah, exactly.
You have Christians being slaughtered in the thousands and thousands, very publicly being done by the Islamists there. Where is the UN? Where are all these small countries, all these Arab nations, standing up for humanity and passing resolutions to protect Nigerian Christians? It's not happening. The UN is a farce. They pick and choose. They've always done this. It's just been kept around because it's kind of like a play toy for the real powers in the world, which is the Americans and the Chinese and the Russians, to justify different things that happen. And I agree, it's being used for that purpose. But the weight that those smaller nations carry means absolutely nothing because they're not consistent. So I want to make that point. The UN is not consistent because if it was, we would have had leader after leader at the UN getting up and talking about the slaughter of Christians in Nigeria and passing resolutions to protect those Christians. But it does not happen because the slaughter of the Christians are being done by Islamists, and none of those Muslim countries, none of those Arab countries will stand up for those Christians. And that's the truth. That is the UN. So if you're holding up the UN as some sort of authority on what is just and right and what is truth, it's not. It is very political. It's always been political. And right now, it's the most political that it's ever been. You know, we saw Trump being stopped on the escalator. We saw them turn his microphone off. You know, these are things that Trump has said. And I agree with Trump. There is a cause, a justification perhaps to even to disband the UN and the US to completely cut them off, because it is more of a hindrance to achieving peace sometimes than actually
exactly. Just think about in this specific instance, the UN has not been able to broker anything. In fact, they've been fighting with Israel because they wanted to allow their UNRWA organization, which they were employing literal terrorists that took part, at least 12 that they ended up admitting, they denied in the beginning, at least 12 terrorists from the UN, employed by the UN, took part in October 7. And instead of helping actually achieve real peace, the kind of peace that Trump is achieving outside of the UN, he said in his speech that they didn't even call him. It is a farce of an organisation, and it shouldn't be taken seriously on any issue, let alone Israel. And when it comes to people walking out on Netanyahu, that was all just a massive show. And the idea that you go to an international body to not listen to the people you disagree with makes zero sense. But there was also it was revealed that they'd also told everyone to bring their full officers into the thing so that it looked like a big exodus from It's all performative.
It's all performative. It's a stunt. They stood there. Most of them were in the room when the butcher from Syria was speaking.
Yeah.
The ex-ISIS, now reformed member of Western society, it seems, speaking. They were all there listening to him and talking his nonsense, even though he has butchered potentially hundreds of thousands of people in Syria, or being involved in that. So again, it's hypocrisy, it's double standards. Someone is saying the UN favors the West. Look, I truly believe that the West has been able to keep a good control over the United Nations for a long time, and I believe today they've lost control, especially during the Trump administration. A lot of there's woke people within the West itself that hate their own countries, that hate the West. These globalists are a real thing. Look at what's happened to the UK. Look at what's almost happened in America and what's happening in Australia. So even if it looks like it's under some sort of Western control, the West sometimes hates itself. So it's all these kind of forces and things working at the same time, Avi. And again, the UN, anyone quoting the UN, I just do not take them at face value, especially if it's the people that I knew who during COVID were telling you the UN is not to be trusted. They're evil.
The funniest to me.
And if they're now saying that the UN is as their standard, and if they're using the South Africans as their standard, for instance, with National Criminal Court, I can't take them seriously because it's just BS. And it's just so obvious.
Smokey Bear says, thank you for the super chat. Says, speaking of lies and frauds, have you heard of a joker called CJ Werleman? His website is all pro-Islamist AI-generated propaganda. I've seen him on Twitter, Look, there's so many of them. Since October 7, it's become popular. Some of these people were doing it beforehand. They just blew up after October 7, literally. But they're... And then there's a lot of people that just saw how easy it is to become popular online by joining the mob. but there's a lot of them out there. I do recognise the name. Catherine says Mashni went go on a Jews radio show. Wow. Mashni.
Did he say that? I missed that. He might have said that to Tom Elliott. I don't know. Is that what you mean, Catherine? We might have missed that part.
I didn't hear that. Okay. So somebody's actually just sent me now new footage from October 8, 2023 outside the Opera House. There's new footage that's just emerged. I haven't watched it. I haven't seen it. There's a minute here. Let's have a watch of it, and then we'll watch the report about the story about what's happening in Sydney at the moment regarding their planned protest outside the Opera House by this same group on Sunday. Isn't that interesting? You're watching that, so that's giving you the close up. That's we've never seen the footage from within
we haven't.
Crowd, and you can hear them. It does sound like they're saying, "Where's the Jews?" and they're like pointing
F
the Jews, and then there's like a socialist there that's like, "Dude, guys, this doesn't look good. Stop!
Mm-hmm.
This is not the optics you don't want." And then they go, "Nah." They go again at him when they try to silence him. And
that was a day after, right?
Day after October 7th. This is before Israel fired a single shot. And so, like, there's the craziness of that, but then it's the unholy alliance with the left who obviously can see the blatant anti-Semitism, the blind hate. The people from, like, within Fitzroy who for years have preached to us about, microaggressions, when somebody misgenders you. Yeah, they want people to be shut down and cancelled for words of no consequence, just for misgendering someone. But then they will happily align themselves. They'll recognise that it doesn't look good, but they won't distance and condemn those that are shouting, "Where's the Jews?" and "F the Jews," as in they're looking for the Jews to do something to the Jews, obviously, like, why else? Where the Jews? But they won't come out and condemn it. They won't. They will literally just say to them, "Guys, maybe don't do that here on camera." And then they will continue the next day to rally alongside him, even though they know that they actually just hate Jews.
Yep. And the point that I want to make is obviously those scenes are from the day after, and we saw a lot of people jubilation and celebrating the act of resistance that they call, which is that barbaric terrorist attack. And then what we've seen since that time, Avi, is Jews fighting back through Israel against those terrorists and trying to get back their hostages. And then we get the crocodile tears almost. It's like it's like there's calls for violence, and there's like call for like killing of Jews, and then when they fight back, it's like, oh, it's genocide, it's this and that, and then at the same time, again, we saw today with the graffiti, do it again. So I would suspect that for a lot of people that don't really get the deep-seated hatred that exists here, that they might think that sometimes we're dealing with reasonable people. I don't think so. I think parts of the factions that are supporting this are not reasonable people. They glorify terrorism. Like, they want to see some type of end result where the Jews are wiped out, and that is what drives them to do these type of actions. And I don't think Australians really understand that or get that. Even after everything that's happened over the last couple of years, they don't really think that's the actual real thing, that there could be so much hatred that it's like a blind mission for the complete destruction of Jews in that part of the world. And yeah, I just wish more people saw that for what it was.
Yeah. Let's read a couple of these super chats and then we'll go on to that story. Sonny says, this was in response to what you said before. Well said, you awesome journos. Love you, keep safe. UN are corrupt. Why do left idiots hate Christians? All systems suffer corruption. We're human. The best of Christians need to shine. Why do the left... The only question in there is, why do the left idiots hate Christians? You know what? To me, so they hate God. They hate anything spiritual or people of faith, but they seem to ignore the actual fanatics, the Islamists, because they're aligned in the hatred for Jews or for Israel, the oppressors or whatever, whichever way they tell it to themselves. But it's bizarre that they hate Christians so much, which they do. They're happy to say it, and they'll say it out loud. But everything that they hate about Christians, pretty much everything that they hate about Christians, so whether it's the homophobia or the anti-trans stuff or whatever, what other examples of things that they hate about Christians?
Well, yeah, they say they're colonialists, all that kind of stuff, like the historical...
All those things, when you apply it to Islamic things, so whether it's the LGBT stuff or the even the colonial stuff, like to look at the biggest colonial conquests in history, they were the Arab conquest. Like, so everything could be applied to them way stronger, but for some reason, I think also they look at Christianity like even though it's not true, but they look at it as like the white man's religion, whereas Islam is the brown man's religion.
Oppressed religion.
Oppressed religion.
Yeah, there is definitely something like that going on. There is a bit of a Christian revival, and Christians kind of speaking up a lot more about some of these issues. But there is also a slight right-wing element that's involved in this kind of extremist Christian nationalism as well, which is
I don't view them as
things going on at the moment in the world. So it's confusing for people, especially for people on speaking up in a religious way about certain things. But what I've noticed about those groups as well, they also don't speak up for the Christian Nigerians in a way that's like very much about stopping that from happening. It's like, I'm talking about the extreme Christian nationalist groups that ignore that because they believe that Christianity is like a white man's thing. It's all very confusing, Avi, these days. The world is divided in so many different ways.
It absolutely is. Okay. What have we got here? Ape Ross says, don't know why people are glorifying Hamas. If Hamas had the same power as other developed countries, they would wipe out the useful idiots. It's so dumb.
Yeah, great.
Exactly.
Point. And that's the point on the lefties, right? So, they kind of right now they see the brown religion as like the oppressed groups and stuff like this, but they don't get it. Like they will literally, the Islamists will wipe you out because you are everything that they're against. Literally, like you said, Avi, they're against that. They will wipe you out, and that's happened in parts of the world. People in other parts of the world know,
and they're way more like they're way more radical than your most fundamentalist Christian places.
Well, they're wiping out, right? They're wiping out is the beheadings. It's what we saw with the extremism of ISIS in different parts with other minorities. They will literally. It's not about negotiating with you about your ideology and be like,
Yeah.
oh, that's how we can work together. It is literally, we will wipe you out, conquer you, and kill you. Like that is what it's. That's the level it's at. And many other parts of the world know this. The West is slowly finding out.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like they're importing people that have this hatred of the West. And yeah, I think I'm worried about where this is going to end up eventually for us in these countries. I don't think it's to those extremes, but we have the undertones of this as well in countries like Australia.
You have never got back to me about the space lasers, Avi. What are you hiding, Baz? I'm going to have to kick you off the screen. That is our worst kept secret. In fact, now they actually do have the space lasers, and now it's not even a secret anymore. Israel has the that new technology, which and Australia has one that they're selling to Europe.
Yeah, I saw that to take out drones.
To take out drones. So Israel has created one that's designed to take out rockets. The problem with them apparently is that they're much cheaper. Obviously, each Iron Dome rocket from memory was like 50 grand, something crazy, right? So it's super expensive, especially in the beginning of the war when they were, there was 50 rockets a day. It's if you do the calculations, it was a very expensive thing to protect, and that's why they set the Iron Dome into the populated areas. But like if it seems like it's gonna land somewhere less populated or somewhere that evacuated, they just let it fall because it's just not worth it. But now they have this new laser technology which is going to work, but apparently, if there's bad weather, it's not as reliable.
Yeah, it's got to be like perfect conditions for.
It's like Starlink. It's like Starlink technology. You got to make sure that it's perfect.
Hey, people are saying in the comments there's some audio issues. Like we're both apparently out of sync, or the audio drops out. But other people are saying you just got to restart YouTube. Refresh YouTube. So it could be a YouTube side issue.
All right, guys. If you just
refresh YouTube. Sorry.
Refresh your YouTube and hopefully it fixes up. Let us know. I don't know if there's anything else we can do.
It seems fine on our end when we're talking to each other.
Yeah, I'm seeing it fine. Should I have a quick look at YouTube and see?
Have a quick look at YouTube and see. I'll just read some comments while we're doing that. Not Twitter, just the comments so you can see if my audio is in sync. Super out of sync, APROS is saying. So is it just me maybe? Maybe I'll call back in. It's better. Someone's saying it's better now. Someone's saying YouTube is censoring you guys. Audio is being interrupted. It's fixed it for me. APROS saying, okay. So people saying refreshing helps it. So I reckon YouTube might have gone out of sync.
Yeah. I think it's fine. I just played it. It was fine. Yeah, guys, just refresh it and it works. Okay, so Eric says, what a peaceful and not hateful crowd, said nobody aside from ABC. At least they show their real colours. Yeah. Isn't that funny? Remember the whole battle with Crikey, who the darling left journalists, Cam Wilson and what was her name? The one that got sacked from ABC? Lattouf, yeah. How all their stories about that whole scenario was they didn't say gas the Jews, and maybe they didn't. So what? They said they're chanting "Where's the Jews?" and "F the Jews." Is that not bad? The day after the Jews were massacred. The day after Jews were massacred, and at that point they were still trying to figure out how many. They were still searching for people. There were still terrorists out and about. And Lattouf and Crikey, Cam Wilson, the most important thing to them was whether they specifically said gas the Jews.
Yeah. Can you imagine the amount of episodes we would have got from Four Corners or ABC segments and different politicians speaking if a bunch of white Australians holding Australian flags had said anything remotely like that?
If those neo-Nazis, they've done full shows, they've done full documentaries, you're right, on ABC about the neo-Nazi groups who arguably have had not as confronting scenes as even that. Yeah, it's definitely in the same at least in the same league. But they've done full-length documentaries, hunted these people down, but this group, they tried to explain it away. They tried to dismiss it. They tried to justify that they actually didn't say what Sky News reported they said, or that the Australian Jewish Association...
That became the story,
Yeah.
That was the way to absolve them.
Abe Ross, thanks for another super chat. Says, how did we come to this? How did we come to this? How did we get so dumb? It's the boil frog theory.
Mm-hmm.
It just took time. Sunny says, thanks for super chat. All Aussie politicians separate religion spiritually from politics. Babette exception. Your thoughts, religion separate from politics. Look, I think that I do believe in separation between church and state. I don't think we should impose anyone's religion on anyone else. I do think, though, we should recognize our Judeo-Christian values as the starting point, but I don't think we need to impose anyone's religion. I don't know what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I mean, we don't. I mean, it's. Look, it's. I think it's for people of faith to, when they have political leaders that espouse their faith in public settings and, you know, express themselves. Yeah, like I think people of faith might enjoy that and like that. But like you said, I don't think it needs to be a requirement. But the underpinnings of our society, valuing, understanding the history of where we get our values from, which really, like you said, Christian values, Judeo-Christian values, however you want to look at it, that is needs to be protected. And, you know, we have to understand, I talked about this on my show yesterday, that not all cultures are equal. And as far as we're concerned in the West, not all religions are equal as well. I know we have, you know, freedom of religion and freedom of expression, all these ideas, but we don't accept, for instance, child marriage as being a norm in Australia because of some religious custom somewhere else. Like, there are distinctions and differences, and our politicians need to be aware of that, I think. And they need to understand the fundamentals of where we get our values from. And even the fact that, yes, there's a lot of atheists in Australia, people make a big huff and puff about that. The fact that we can have atheists in Australia, for instance, a point that Babbitt has actually made, I think is a good point. The fact that you can have a country with a lot of atheists is because of things like Christianity and those underpinning the values that allow for that freedom for people to be an atheist. You know, there are many parts of the world that what happens, I've asked you this last week as well, what happens in, for instance, if you're a Muslim or you're part of Islam and you denounce the religion in one of those countries, for instance?
I think that's the only religion that has, as far as I know, the punishment for apostasy, so for leaving the religion, is death.
So there are
I think it's only, although like in ancient Judaism, like there was the death penalty for, like breaking the Sabbath or whatever. So I guess I guess to a degree. But the problem is, like, when you look at Judaism, for example, when that was the law of Judaism, so back in the days of the temples, we're talking about a temple thousands of years ago, it was, it also stipulated that if a court, the Sanhedrin, that when you watch, what's that show called?
The Chosen.
The Chosen. So you actually see, because I remember I learned about that all when I was a kid. So the Sanhedrin, the court of 70 or whatever, any or whatever, I think it's 70, a court of 70. So any court that sentenced, I think it was more than one or two people to death in like 100 years or something, was considered a bad court, right? Now, look at the other side of that, like today. So today there's no death penalty in Judaism and Christianity, but in Islam there still is. There's still honor killings. There's still... So if you go to places that have Sharia law here, they're killing people for leaving the religion. They're also killing women who, by no fault of their own, were raped or something. Like they honor kill those people, but they also... So I think that when... it goes back to that thing that we were talking about before, the lunacy of the left, that they align with the, they purport to be progressive, like the people in Fitzroy. They say they're progressive, but they go with the most backwards of groups, of ideologies, of people. and it makes no sense. Baz says, I joke a bit, but try to be respectful. YouTube has blocked my last 5 chats and is blocking cruel intentions. No breach of terms. They are just robbing you of dollars. Listen, I was demonetized for a very long time on YouTube, so I'm going to take what I can get. They're a bit painful. We try to abide by their rules as much as possible. Like, there's even the video tomorrow of the Druze. I uploaded it once, Rukshan, but because of the B-roll, we had
They
to...
got destroyed. Oh, wow.
Unlimited thing, so I took it down because of, obviously, because it's got a lot of footage from the Druze villages. It got demonetized, so because we hadn't published it, I put up another version, took out the offending B-roll. I didn't put the title in it, and now I see it got demonetized again. So I've put it out for a review, see if they find a point or whether it's just the title that's triggering them.
Yep.
It's hard. You've got to contend with all of that, but we try. We try. Obviously, we really appreciate all the super chats, people that support us, because it's so hard to, in this industry today, to monetize it and to make enough money to help cover the costs of doing what we do. So appreciate each and every one of you, and those of you that are fighting with YouTube to help us out. You can do it on our private things as well. You can go to, like, my links are on followavi.com, or go to Rebel News. You can donate there. Rukshan, is there places that you take support, or is it only your YouTube channel?
I'm gonna register something. I'm gonna think of a cool URL just to kind of upend you a little bit here.
Yeah, just do
I'm slowly learning the ways.
RukshanKissTheWall.com and just have the wall and Enoch says over 1 million black slaves in the Muslim world. That's today. That's that's something that people.
Good point.
That is a good point, because the left, who go on about even apartheid in the context of Israel, but about the
Arab slave traders.
Well, today they talk about, in the West, the treatment of black people here in Australia, the Aboriginal people, but in the US, especially the whole slave, reparations and that. But they'll never talk about the Arabs today that have slaves, African slaves today, all over the Middle East. In fact, they'll align with those exact people. It's a really good point. Thank you, Enoch. Lisa. Always love getting ones from Lisa. Aitan's Light, Iron Beam, Aitan's Oyster, was a commander in the... these are names. Oster was a commander in the Egoz Commando Unit who was killed fighting Hezbollah in Lebanon in October 2024. Aitan, he helped design this technology. Oh, okay, so this must be...
That's one of the weapons.
Oh, this is the weapon, the light thing. Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Amazing. Listen, Israel's got some amazing stories of invention but it's also just because it's such a small a small country, and the other part of that is the fact that everybody serves everybody, and everybody contributes in that way, that you get these stories of heroes, and not only went in, served, paid the ultimate price, but also invented some technology which is going to save, probably thousands of people into the future. It's something you don't get to witness in many other places. I can't think of anywhere else in the world. Eric says, at least you guys got something from our super chats. Amazing this didn't get blocked. It's a pretty controversial super chat. Yeah, I'm surprised they let that one through too. Thanks for the super chat. And Sonny says, how about you both... How are you both reconciling your recent Oz travels OS travels in UK and
Overseas
Israel.
travel in the UK.
Overseas. Bloody code,
Hey,
mate.
you're not down with the lingo.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
just not, this is like
Overseas
this is from our
travellers.
generation. It's not even the new stuff.
In the UK and Israel. We've been back in Australia. I'm posting lots to help pay your trip away. Appreciate your support, son. Yeah, we've talked a lot about the trips. I think the highlight, probably for me, was Tommy's rally. 1 million people, hundreds of thousands to 1 million people there. The energy, electric, wild, crazy to see. And just watching by the end of the day, Rukshan falling apart was amazing too. Then, and then obviously going to the Western Wall and seeing you take it in like that, I think that was also a special moment for me. But I don't know, what about you?
Yeah, no, I think obviously I've been to the UK before and for other things, and yeah, definitely the rally, Tommy's rally was special. Just seeing the crossover of issues that we have with the UK, seeing that firsthand and seeing the extent that it's affecting people in the UK, and then obviously thinking about how that would, I think, eventually translate into people in Australia taking up a similar cause to what we're seeing in the UK with massive rallies. I think that's the way that things are moving. So that was kind of eye-opening for me. And obviously Israel being eye-opening in the sense that it's very different, guys. Like I tell everyone now that I meet, it's very different if you are just watching stuff on TikTok and X and commenting about something and then going there and seeing it yourself. Now, I wish that I could have seen more of, like, gone into the West Bank and done all those things? Yes, definitely, because I think that would again change my perspective on certain things as well. But even just that little glimpse that I got in the 8 or 9 days that we were there, it really just does open your eyes, because it is not what we're told, via the idiot box and via the internet and by podcasters, many of who have never probably been there. So I think for that experience, I really appreciate that, and it's made me want to go back and obviously explore more and see more of that place as well. And I think that's one of the special parts of doing on the ground reporting. Whether it was just walking around the beach in Tel Aviv and speaking to locals, just seeing that. For me, it was really that so many people there are like the things that we talk about here. Like we passionately argue about, issues to do with Israel and Palestine in Australia. We have, people putting up graffiti and, all this discontent on the radio shows in the morning. And then some parts in Israel, in Tel Aviv, like they're like, well, Australia, you're asking them like Australia recognized the Palestinian state. They're like, okay, we didn't know that happened. Like, okay, we're just like getting on with life. We're at the beach. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, you just see like the world is so much more bigger than the little bubbles that we kind of create when it comes to these issues. Life goes on is probably what I'm trying to say, especially in that part of the world. Life goes on. They've been dealing with this, I think, for thousands of years, if not hundreds, most recently. And yeah, it's just a part of their existence. Like the way that we look at it and the way that they see the war and the issues that they're having is completely different. And I got to see that firsthand. So I'm grateful for that, for sure.
Sorry, I'm just changing. I think people are complaining about the maybe the comments stopping people.
It's actually a thing.
So
you have restrictions on. Do you have strict restrictions?
I think so. It had stricter restrictions on. So maybe that's what has been causing it. So maybe it was my own fault. So you can test it now. Let me know. I've just put on to basic moderation. Maybe that's what it was. Because I didn't want to get us punished for having too much. So maybe that's been my problem the whole time. All right.
Yeah, because we never really had that issue. Did you change it?
No, I didn't change it. So it should.
Where do you do that?
In the settings of the channel, you go to community moderations, and I had it on strict.
Where is it? Settings in the dashboard.
Go to your YouTube studio. Settings on the left-hand side at the bottom.
Oh yeah.
And then just go to community moderation.
Moderation.
What's your one?
Basic.
Yours is basic. Yeah, mine was on strict. So it might be that.
Oh, messages in your live chat, no moderation.
Where's that? Messages in your...
I have none turned on. Maybe turn none.
What's messages in your live chat?
I don't know what that is. Is that different to comments? Oh, okay, yeah. That's when people can message directly. Oh, okay. Okay,
Yeah,
that's fine.
I'll put basic. I'm just gonna have basic for everything.
Yeah.
Because we are featuring them as well.
Yeah.
All right. Hopefully that works. We'll see how we go.
Yeah.
Let me know if you guys see any difference. Oh, there is a few super chats. Let's just what have we got? Catherine says, is that due to lefties liking violence? You're talking about why it got demonetized. No, it's actually, to be honest, it's the butcher that he was referring to before that got the standing ovation at the UN. It's his people that were targeting the Druze. We've got a long interview with the Druze community. I'll probably put it up tomorrow, where you can hear their plight. You know, it's a real genocide, the one that the media doesn't want to talk about. It doesn't suit the narrative. April says, why do people say Jews are to blame for everything? And when you confront them about showing proof, they will call you a Zionist and call me Mossad. It's because that's what they do. It's the easiest way to shut down the argument. And then the funny thing is they'll get all these likes and everyone will be celebrating. And that's why I don't debate half these people anymore, because it's so boring. All they got to do is scream at you, Zionist and Mossad agent, without actually debating the issue. Because they don't have the proof. If they had the proof, they would just publish the proof.
Now they got a new one. Now they just say, oh, $7,000 per post.
$7,000.
And guys, I wish I was getting $7,000 per post. Anyone watching in the Mossad, if you want to hook me up with the $700 post thing, you can hit me up. I'll say it here right now, because apparently I'm getting $7,000 per post, and I haven't seen anything come through.
Richard says, hey, Avi, Switzerland might be a bit similar to Israel as far as national service and inventions, respect for tradition, community spirit, etc. WEF meetings are not included. Do you know what's interesting, though? Switzerland, like a lot of the local people, didn't like the WEF. They hated the WEF.
Yeah.
So,
it's been imposed on them.
Yeah, it's been imposed.
That's a good point, though. Switzerland is a bit like that. I also think South Korea is very similar for a small nation. I know there's a bigger population in terms of their contributions to society, as well as Japan. But they're kind of similar as well in terms of their contribution. So definitely the different countries stand out. And if you look at Israel's contribution for their relatively small population, for the Jewish population, when it comes to science and the arts and all these kind of things, it's pretty massive. Like there is definitely something there. I think you or someone else explained it to me once, that they've been fighting for so long against people that have tried to wipe them out, that the people that kept the tenacity of them to continue to come back each time has made them stronger and more wiser in certain areas. That shows through, and that could be a thing. Adversity often pushes us to our limits in terms of becoming better.
Give me 2 seconds. I think we've got a hostage's father that might just jump on.
Okay. Like a released hostage, or one that's I guess we'll find out.
I'll just send him the link to see if he can come on and tell us his story. Give me 2 secs. Sometimes in a rush, I write everything. Alright, I just told him to log in if he can. I believe he might just join us. So Eric says French government collapsed after PM resigned. I said, did they fully collapse? Have they collapsed?
Oh, well, last I saw was resignation, but I would suspect it's collapsing because Macron was already collapsing before the resignation. So, yeah, I haven't, to be honest, French politics is one I follow the least.
Let's see, is there any new update? Let's see if there's a... Anyways, no, it doesn't look like there's anything. Anyways, hopefully they go to an election and we get somebody decent. They almost did, didn't they? Eric says, Rook, ain't you supposed to be tech support? Let's see Nasser in an Asa. Nasser in an Asa.
The tech's pretty good. I've trained Avi pretty well. He's able to, live on the show, he's able to bring a guest on. I mean, it's pretty good. This would have been hard to comprehend a few months ago, years ago, actually, when we first started. Now he's figured it all out.
The idea of that scared me. Hold on. Thanks for that super chat, Eric. Baz says, so it was you lost a lot of money. I'm feeling the pain, but thanks. It was me. It sounds like it was me. It must have been because it was strict. It was probably like anything that had kind of probably FFS didn't let you. Eric says, such freedom to write whatever I bloody want. Almost, it's amazing to me how such a little piece of land causes so many lefties to weep. Yes, to both. And Ernesty says, a belated Chag Sukkot Sameach Avi. Yes, today is a Jewish holiday of Sukkot. It's the second night. Appreciate it, and to you too. Okay, all right. So we watched what happened at the Opera House that day. Let's see what's unfolding right now in New South Wales.
Legal challenge by police against plans for a pro-Palestinian march to the Sydney Opera House has been delayed until tomorrow. The Palestine Action Group intends to hold the event on Sunday, but police have opposed it, in part due to safety concerns based on the location and potential crowd numbers. Court reporter Jamie McKinnell joins us now with more. Hi, Jamie. So this hearing was expected to go ahead today. Why has there been this delay?
Hi there, Ros. Well, basically because the case is being moved straight from the Supreme Court up to the Court of Appeal in New South Wales. What's happened here is that there appears to have been agreement from both sides that that move is the most appropriate.
Give me 2 seconds. I think we actually have... Hello, Itzik. How you doing?
Oh, he's come on.
He's come on, yes. How you doing, Itzik? I've just sent him the link. Hopefully he can hear us. Can you hear us?
Yeah. Wait, that's me. Ring.
Can you hear us? I think he's just figuring out the phone. Sorry, we didn't plan this earlier, so it's just going to be live on air. You're going to watch it happen.
It's definitely working. Maybe they can't hear us. Oh,
yeah.
No.
They'll
ring back.
That's all right. They'll ring back, but it sounds like he's coming on. I'll just tell him. Let's just read these super chats. We were just working that out. I won't start the video back up. We'll get back to that story in a sec. We'll just see if they come back in. Super chat from Sunny says, OS overseas, Oz, colloquial sleep, RV, you two keep safe in hostile Oz. Aussies are better than the hate we see in Melly and Sid. I'm First Fleet Catholic Australian, Gen X, Mum, Gen Z, kids, Poppy Fort under Australian flag, government under elbow vomit. This is great. Bless Israel, seventh loss. Return the hostages. Really appreciate the support.
I love
Sonny.
Sunny's super chats, and Sunny, you managed to fit in a lot of different themes and topics, all in that. You make the most of the super chat. I love it. Thank you. Appreciate the support.
We've got them here again. Can you hear us, Itik?
Hi, how are you?
How are you doing?
Hey, mate.
Hello?
Can you hear us? We can
hear you. Very.
Okay, perfect. So, can you tell the audience, we have about almost 9,000 people in Australia now tuned in. Can you tell people who you are and your story, especially today?
I hear you very, very quiet. I can't hear you so much.
Do you
You hear me?
We can hear you fine. We can hear you well.
We can hear you really well.
Okay. My name is Itzik. I'm 1 second. I try to. My name is Itzik Gvili. I'm a proud father of Rani Gvili. I don't know. 1 second.
We'll get him on the full screen, Avi.
Let me see, but let me see. Let me do that. Yeah, there we go.
And zoom out of that one.
Yeah, I'll zoom out. Give me 2 seconds, Mike.
This is Rani. It's my son. Okay.
Yeah.
Rani is right now is kidnapped in Gaza. He's a police officer. He was fighting in at Kibbutz Alumim. His name is Alumim Shields. He went to fight with broken shoulders, and he was not supposed to be there, but actually he jumped out from the house. He's a big hero, and he saved kibbutz, all the kibbutz Alumim in the 7 October, and after all the ammunition he lost all the ammunition, and so he's been kidnapped to Gaza, and we don't know still what's going on with him. We are really in the dark time all over right now, 2 years. And actually, they tell us if he didn't get the treatment, so he's not alive. But we still have a hope he's alive, and he will come back. And Rani, this is the story for him. And he's the only police officer in Gaza. And now is exactly 2 years from the 7 October 23, now to 70 October 25, and we hope he will come home. Is what yeah.
Can I ask you, so, it's 2 years ago. At the time, so when did you find out, firstly, what was happening on the ground, and when did you find out that your son was kidnapped, and what went through your head?
Actually, in 3 days after the 7 October, we didn't know nothing about what we looking all over the hospitals, all this unit. They don't know nothing what's going on with Rani. We look all over. We look over dead bodies. We look over hospital. We look over everywhere. We didn't know nothing. And after 3 days, they told us is in contact with everyone. And after 2 weeks, we get in pictures, and Rani laid down on a motorcycle next to Shifa hospital in Gaza. So we understand he's been kidnapped. And after in January 30, after 3 months or something like this, they told us because they have some pictures and some videos, and they say, so they make like a meeting, and they say if he didn't get the treatment, so maybe he's not alive, and what you call Khrazan, I don't know in English, but they say he's not alive. And this is the situation we live like this. But Ronnie is a strong guy, and we believe because he's a very strong guy. We believe he's survive, and I don't know. We are in the dark.
How has the last 2 years been? I imagine it's gone, for me on one hand, it's slow and it's fast. But for you, how has this last 2 years been, and has it changed in the period, from the 3 months when they told you that to now?
Yeah, but for everyone, the 7 October is the day, but for us, 7 October is every day.
Yeah.
For 2 years. But we're still in hope. We're still in because what's happened in the 7 October, what the terrorists, what the Hamas done, it's like the Holocaust, something like this. Even the people say something more things than this, and the world don't know, don't understand what's going on. You understand? It's about what's people. They just came to kibbutzim. They kill children. They put them on the oven. It's something like even not animals, only monsters do the things like this. And
how do you feel
what
seeing people in countries like Australia and America and England talking about this issue and minimizing things?
Speak aloud because I can hear you so much.
I was going to say, how do you feel as a father with a son who's been taken hostage in Gaza when you see people in Australia and the UK say that it's not really happening that way, or they deserve it, or there's all these conspiracies that are surrounding all these kind of issues? How do you feel?
Look, I want to tell you something. I think the war is blind. And what's happening in Australia and all the demonstration and everything in Europe, in the States and everywhere in the world, they feel like Israel is done a massacre and they do many things, and they don't understand what's going on with these people. They're not when they came to a country like in Europe and everything, they want to do what they want to do. They want to feel like it belongs to them. You understand? So now they do it to Israel. They try actually. They didn't do it. Yeah, they try to make in Israel an Islamic state, and they will do it everywhere in the world. And if the world is not wake up, and it looks like they do it. If the world is not to wake up to make all the Islamic wall, this is the dream for all the crazy people. And if it's going to be an Islamic place, so what the consequence. Understand?
Do you think
and I think the people in Australia, in Europe, they're just blind. They don't see it. All kind of people, they're just going to be cry if it's happened like this. You understand?
Do you think this deal is going to happen? Trump's peace plan. Do you think the hostages are coming home? Do you think your son's coming home now in Trump's deal? Do you believe it?
Look, what's happened right now is the most serious for the last 2 years. What's happened, but I want to believe. We want to hope it will be, but as we know, those people, they can play even with Trump. You understand? But the good things is right now because all the Arab world is together with Trump and is together with us right now, and they understand a little bit what the Hamas do and to all the world. You understand? But and if it's not, if they say no for the deal, so it's going to be bad for them. But we hope it will be very good. I don't know. This is what we want. We want to hope. We want to see the hostage at home.
Yep.
How do you feel? How do you feel about the protests here not telling Hamas to sign the deal, not protesting for Hamas? Many people here have protested for 2 years to end the war, but now they're not protesting to demand Hamas signs the deal and gives back the hostages. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about people who refuse to tell Hamas to do it?
I think it's baiting. It's fake, you know. Like people baiting. They just look only one side of the coin. No, they don't go to look for all the picture. That even they don't understand what's going on. They don't know the problem, the really problem. They don't. They just get from the media. They get the information, and the media want to show you what is the information, but it's not true. It's not the really what's going on. You understand? And we Israel Jewish always pray for peace. We want the peace. We give them all Gaza back. We make a peace with Egypt, with Jordan, but they don't want it. Even if you give them, all the billion of dollars instead of to use it for the people. So Gaza, it was to be like a Dubai, but what they do, they use all the billion for the terror. And I understand, something. You are from Australia, and I understand. In Syria, they killed over 500,000 people. Assad. In Sudan, they killed 1.5 million people, and all over the world, people get killed. But what's going on here in Gaza? All the war. See what's happened, and they start with us. We didn't start the war. We didn't start. We didn't come and kill children. And the IDF always tried to keep the what you call it, civilian people to don't get killed. With the care, we try to do so many things to just kill terrorists. And they talk about us like we make how you say it, like we kill the civilian people, but it's not true.
The genocide or
genocide.
Can I ask you, because for 2 years your son's a hostage, so you have to contend with that. You have to suffer that pain every day. But on top of that, is the pain much worse for you personally when you see that around the world, in Australia, where Australia was a friend of Israel and now is not so much a friend of Israel, and so many people are blaming Israel while they still have your son? Does it hurt you to another level, or are you just focused on your son?
Of course it hurts me. It hurts everyone. It's not. I mean, it hurts us, everyone in Israel, for what's going on in Australia, for the demonstration against Israel, and it's something. You can understand. How? Try to understand. Like if they came a terrorist to Sydney or to Melbourne and killed over 20,000 people in one day. So what they will do what they will say in Australia and what they will say in everywhere. Understand? It's not something you didn't start with anyone, but they start with you. You try. You had a border and you have everything. Even almost 200,000 people from Gaza. There was before the 7 October. They was working in Israel. They're working and they get money from Israel. And I will tell you something. My son work in my house in the 5 on October in my house together with one worker from Gaza. They work here in my house. You understand? Try to understand. And 2 days after, what's happened? It's crazy. We try to help them, and they want to try to destroy us. We give them food, we give them electricity, we give them water. What kind of? Tell me about one country in the world. If you had a war with another country, you give them the support, you give them water, you give them food, you give them. Only in Israel you do this, and people around the world, people in Australia, they don't understand. They say we make a massacre. You understand?
What do you miss most about your boy? What are you most wishing to have again?
Oh, a lot. I miss him every second. I need. We've been really in good contact. We talk all the time. He's a great guy. He's something like he love to help people. He love to help children. He love to help old people. He like to play music. He like to ride a motorcycle. And I miss him every second. What we do now, what we can do now. And it's a bad time. And now we have to prepare to awaiting what we have in the family. My oldest son used to get married. And the crazy is, it was 1 week before the 7 October, he's proposed and we're waiting to his girlfriend. And Rani, my son, he make all the proposal. He make all the party.
He made the party.
Yeah, he made all the party for his older brother. 2 years ago, exactly. And,
what would you
now
say?
they got me.
What would you say to the Australian Prime Minister now, who's become very hostile to Israel? What would your message be to him?
I tell him, wake up, because it can happen in every country. It can happen in Australia. You take all these refugee people, and you think it's refugee. They're not refugee, all of them. All the people that protest in Australia, they today is against Israel, and tomorrow it will go to be against Australia. Look what's happened in England right now. What's happened there? Look what in Britain, in Spain, in France. Look what's going there. Wake up. People don't think about it. If you want to be, and I say, if you want to be in Australia like a refugee, you have to live like Australian people. You can try to how you call it? Only foot. You can put all the Australian to be like a Muslims, something like this. You understand what I mean? And I tell them, wake up, because when it will be happen in your country, it will be much more dangerous. I will promise you, because they don't care.
Last question: If
Yeah.
your boy was watching now in Gaza, he was watching this, what would you say to him now?
We love him. We're waiting for him. Every second we're waiting, and we wait when he come, and we hope we all the family waiting for him, all the friends, and we hope he's alive first of all, and this will be a big party when he come back, and this is what I have to say.
Well, I can
And
say
we're proud of him. We're very proud of him, because he came to save a people. He have all the chance to stay at home, but he want to save the people. He save country. He save kibbutzim. He helped a lot of people in the 7 October. So This is what I have to say. I don't know.
Listen, I think I speak on behalf of every decent Australian when I say we're praying for you. We're praying that your son comes back to you safe and sound. And today must be harder than most days. But hopefully the end of this nightmare is coming very, very, very soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for
And
joining us.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Gosh, I've got to say,
It's very confronting because even when we were in Israel, hearing from hostage families, like, it's real. Like, obviously we're doing the media stuff, we're questioning them and putting these questions to them, and he's graciously giving his time to talk to us about it because he wants to raise awareness about what's happening. But it is very difficult questioning someone when you know that they're, for instance, in this case, his son, he doesn't know if his son is alive.
He doesn't know if his son's alive.
He doesn't know if his son's alive or dead.
And I don't know, as a parent, like, of course you want your son alive, but then also as a parent, like, he's a police officer, like, you'd think, are they just 2 years of torture? Like, it shivers down my spine, and when it puts everything into perspective. Something he just said is, today it's 7th of October for everyone. Everyone's feeling 7th of October today, and like, I'm saying to you, I didn't go to the protest today because I just felt like it's wrong. Like, I don't want to give that air, and I want to reflect on, because there's something heavy about this day that I need to remember what happened, and it was a day that changed my life. But if you hear him, the 7th of October has been every single day for him, because he doesn't even know if his son's alive or dead in Gaza, if his son's alive and being tortured, or if he died and how he died. Like, he just doesn't know. So every day for him is what we are feeling today. And as a parent, that just cuts so deep. I don't know how I would be. I don't know if I would be strong enough after 2 years to get on to some random podcast in Australia and talk to people, knowing that there's so many hostile people around the world who think you're the evil one. When, like he said, 2 days before that, his son had a Gazan there working on his house, and these were
with
the
him
people
together in the family home. And that, again, I want to reiterate, that was my experience hearing from hostage families while we were in Israel. And I just also want to say that hostage families have different opinions as well. Like,
well, I didn't even get into the politics with him, because
it's not about the politics today, obviously. But I just wanted to say, like, they do have different views and different opinions. It's not like a monolithic view about what's occurring in the country as well. Like, I think that's important to say, because but at the heart of it, Avi, is the fact that there are people being held in Gaza, these hostages, and to this day, like you mentioned during your questions to him, there are people in the West that don't, like, they would have cared about it the day after, or maybe 2 days after, but now today it's just like whatever. And just seeing that this is the real face of it, and these are very real things. And if you put yourself in those same shoes, and it was one of your family members, it changes the equation of how you may view things. I think that's important to understand.
I think we'll pretty much wrap up. I think we were in the middle of that story. We've got a couple of super chats to read. We'll just read the super chats. I think, or should we just quickly finish that report? Essentially, I think we can sum it up. There's right now the protest. That's what's interesting. The protest on Sunday outside. So these guys, again, just to show you who they are, masks off. Like, Nasser Mashni is saying they're going to protest today because he wants to protest, on this day specifically. Horrible. This day is really about them, about the hostages, the victims of October 7. But Nasser Mashni is showing us who he is. And then an extension to that is the Sydney protest organisers from the same Palestinian whatever network. There's one hijabi and one white guy with gingy hair that runs that organisation. They're the ones that fought for the Sydney Harbour Bridge. Well, now they're fighting to be able to do it at the Sydney Opera House in support, essentially, of those protests that we saw that video, Where's the Jews, F the Jews. Yep. To kind of go off the back of that, because 2 years ago that was the face of the anti-Israel movement before Israel even fought back, when Israel was still trying to take down the hostages on October 8th. There were still areas that were controlled by terrorists. And so there's a constitutional challenge, I think, tomorrow, over the next couple of days in court.
Yeah. I mean, my view on all of this is they're just trying to co-opt Australian landmarks for propaganda purposes to make it look like, when you see these images everywhere else, that all Australian people support their cause, and that is not the case. They're very, very vocal minority, I believe, still. Yes, the sentiments have shifted because people are fatigued by what's going on. But if you go to the heart of it and you talk to ordinary people, they will understand the significance of a terror attack. And no, Australians do not glorify terrorism. And I believe truly that Australians do not want their landmarks used, right? The landmarks of this nation, like places like the Sydney Opera House, to share that type of message as a political tool. And that's all this is about. Because it's not about not being able to protest. They can protest anywhere in Sydney that they want. They've been doing that for weeks and weeks and weeks, for years. It's not about that. It's about co-opting these landmarks and using it for political purposes. That was what the Harbour Bridge was about. And now that that's done, it's the Opera House.
I agree with you 100%, but and I think to add insult to injury in this specific case, it's also rubbing in the specific fact of what happened on October 8 outside the Opera House. But yes, in general terms, yes, that's what they want to do. They want that. They want the imagery of it, because that then spreads around the world. Like the Harbour Bridge, those images of the full Harbour Bridge, they saw it everywhere in the world. And they want a bit more of that. Let's read some of these. What I'm actually going to do with these other stories, I'm saving them on here, and they're perfect for Thursday. They're still relevant for Thursday, so we'll continue and catch those all for Thursday, just because it's getting a bit late. We've gone a bit over time, but I'm just really glad that we got. I thought of it as we were doing it, and I thought I'll message my brother, who I know is friends with these hostage families, and I thought if he can bring somebody on, I would love on October 7 to actually, I should have pre-thought of that, hear from somebody there. I think
it was great because just everything that we talk about is, on the podcast, far removed, but having someone like that on there kind of brings it all together to what this really is all about, right?
Absolutely. Okay, so Abe says, this is old. Abe says, Abe Ross, thanks for the super chat, says Big Chocky talked about the Israel paying influencers and said to check his story, and it showed absolutely nothing whatsoever. I don't know what he's. Okay.
I think Big Chocky, who makes those videos, look, and he shares a lot of. He's actually very balanced. If you watch his content, he will share a bit of everything, and it is what it is. A lot of the people that maybe talk about that Israel issue with the playing of the influence and the $7,000 for the propaganda, all this kind of nonsense. A lot of it is just propaganda itself that's been spread out to make people look bad. So it's all very confusing at the end of the day, is what I'm trying to say.
Sonny says, we hear you well. We love you bravely. Return your beautiful son. Sorry, Australia is not 100%. Prayer and candles and love for your family. Bring him home. Absolutely, Sonny. Thanks for the super chat, and I will pass these messages on as well. I'll send some of these messages in. I'll message him after.
Yeah.
Sonny says, Avi, slow and fast from Aussie First Fleet. Poppy fought under Australia.
No, we didn't read this one.
Australia government is deliberate decline and Aussie blind is mildly put. Yeah, that's what he said. And they are brainwashed and suffering in deliberate globalist decline of the West. I actually tend to agree with you on all that. I agree. I think for him, when he sees Australia reacting the way they're reacting, he just says they must be blind.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that there's a deeper, more nefarious thing going on at a global level, and we are just one, and you can see it because you see it replicated all around the world. We're maybe a little bit behind England.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for the super chat. Eric says, I'll send these messages to him as well. Praying for your son and your family. May Yiten Elohim yivarech otcha. And that's a blessing to God to bless him. Thank you for that. I'll pass it on. Lisa says, my oldest daughter is a PO in Outback Australia, police officer in Outback. Thank God I picked that one up because I wouldn't hear the end of it from Rukshan. A desert much like Israel. I understand worry, but not like you do. Apologies from me, an Australian citizen. My country's Prime Minister does not represent me or many of my compatriots. Lisa, you're probably one of the most staunch people in the country, and I don't think you have much to apologise for. But I know I can't help but, even when I was in Israel, feel like apologising to people, and especially hostage families, about our government's disgusting, vile reaction to all of this, and the political games they're playing to what should be a close ally, what should have absolute moral clarity. Enoch says, YouTube wouldn't let me ask if he was willing to release the next 250 Sinwars for his son, who would go on to do the same thing to the next generation. Look, it's a good question. It's a good question, and that is the question.
There were definitely, I'm not sure about him, there were definitely families that I saw in Israel that probably would be willing to do that.
Yes.
As a like, we saw that, right? It was
and
more
I also
we'll deal with them after. That's what they were saying.
I also don't blame, as a parent.
Yeah.
That's the what wouldn't you give up for your child? So, I'm thinking now, I don't know if I would have, I don't have many boundaries, but on October 7, would I feel appropriately comfortable to ask him that in this moment when it's really let's remember what happened that day. Let's actually be there for the families. And, even if he wants to give the whole world away for his son, I wouldn't blame him. I don't, and I don't think...
You can't really judge people, yeah.
I don't think that you need to also... It would be interesting if he said no, to be fair. But I don't know, is it a fair question to put somebody on the spot now, today, about that? I don't know. Maybe I'm just today, my chest is tight, my heart is heavy, and we're just remembering what happened. So maybe I'm super sensitive today, but it would be a question I would happily ask him, like we did. We asked similar questions of hostage families. I'm not saying you don't ask them that. I'm saying today I just feel like I just want to hear from them, and I want to hear their, I'm happy to hear. I'm happy to hear from them, and just to hear, every day was October 7 for us. The last super chat here, and I think we can close off tonight's show. Gone a little bit over time. Eric says, saw an interesting post from Sky News not long ago. Eli Sharabi, who is the freed Israeli hostage, described impossible hunger and described as impossible hunger and painful conditions in Hamas captivity. Described impossible hunger and pain in captivity. It's devastating what they went through. Yeah, I think he's actually is he the one that wrote a book of his story already? Maybe, but
I don't know.
Otherwise, I think he was on Shari's show tonight. I'm sure it's worth watching. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in tonight.
Yeah.
It was a bit more of a somber session. I appreciate every single one of you, and I appreciate those that have super chatted, and I appreciate you guys pulling me up on the. I can't believe I was affecting my own super chats. Anyways,
that's been sorted. But yeah, thanks everyone for joining in. Thursday we'll be back with the Opposition podcast, and we'll cover some of the topics that we missed out on today.
Yep.
But yeah, make sure you're following us on all the different platforms.
That's right. And if you can look for all my socials at followavi.com. You don't have that URL thing yet, do you? You should set up one of those things.
I'm going to get one.
Yeah, it's so easy. You set up a URL and then put it to one of those link trees or whatever.
I've actually got a URL registered. I have no idea why I have this URL registered.
What is it?
But I have a URL registered. I kid you not, deportavi.com.
Do you?
I don't know how this happened, but I keep getting charged for it once a year.
You should straight up use that as your like link tree. Like whenever anyone needs deportavi.com.
Guys, if you want to look up go to deport. I'm actually going to look it up if I still actually have it. I'll tell you for sure.
You should do that. That's the funniest thing.
Yeah, I just got an email like 2 days ago. Get deportavi.com.au if you want as well. Renewal for your domain. Yeah, I think it's still active. There you go.
Right, you should make that your link tree. Just set up a link tree or whatever, and then just what's it called? Redirect it.
Yeah, it'll be a popular link.
Bro, you'll get followers just from the URL. 100%. Good night, guys. Shalom, shalom.
Good night, everyone. Shalom, shalom.